Aetheryte Radio, Gamer Escape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast on Fusion X, and joining me today we have Zenidra and Barin.
Howdy, howdy.
So
she's not gonna say anything. She's just gonna like.
It's like I was wondering if you were gonna say anything. You did like your little like salute, and I was like, okay. The audio, like the people that download the audio are gonna be like, so is he there or what happened?
Or like Zenidra's just gonna do sign language for the show.
Oh man, that'd be nuts.
I actually saw how to say nice to meet you the other day, and I forget. It would have been perfect.
Would have been perfect.
Oh well.
All right, episode
Can't
90.
Win 'em all.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. So episode 90, about episode 90. If you guys remember way back in like September, so I'm talking like way back, we put out a call asking for applications for new hosts. We have narrowed it down to the final two, and they both got in. So hopefully next episode we are going to have them joining us for the first time. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Also, if you didn't catch our last episode, we sat down and talked to Susan Calloway.
Susan Calloway, she's super nice.
She was really impressive.
What? Oh my god.
We're professional.
You can tell she's running on like no sleep. She's just loopy. All right. So we talked to her about her artist's cut of Answers. Make sure to check that out up on the website, YouTube, all that stuff if you want to check that out. Going into news here, the big piece of news right here, on March 11th, Elysium was world first clear for Midas Savage.
That's impressive. That's really exciting
Sooner
too.
than Gordius.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that was
So
also
cool for
one of the
everyone
problems with Gordius. I mean, because you factor in not just the 3.0 leveling and all of that. I mean, there was a lot of things. Plus, I think the other factor was they also somewhat delayed it. So they had.
Yeah, they did.
They had.
But
Savage,
I mean, just from release of Gordius until they beat it, it was longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's
that you know, Alexander 3, man, Gordius 3 was rough. So, but yeah, so they beat it. So big shout out to Elysium. Grats on that. It's about how long Yoshida said they thought it would take for time to completion. So that's nice, at least, right? They're like, all right, maybe it should take players like this amount of time, and that's roughly what it was. So that's good.
I kind of always wondered if that would be something that they would have like written down and they could like open it up in the envelope and show everybody, because it's like, okay, somebody beats it and they're like,
no, really, we said it would take this long. See, we
that's
have it in the envelope. It's
what
proof.
we thought was going to happen. Yes. Rather than it's like, we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Man.
Things that will never happen.
Also in news this week, there is going to be a crossover between Final Fantasy XIV and everybody's favorite westernized MMO, Phantasy Star Online 2.
If you haven't played it, it's
Are you lying?
It's incredible.
Sarcasm.
I own like all the copies of.
I still have a Phantasy Star Online 2 mouse pad from like PAX in like what 2014 or 2013. If I had known, I would never have used it because it's kind of worn down now. I should have like framed it and put it up on eBay for millions of dollars. So PSO2.
Wow.
Whoa! They're gonna get some Kote costumes, and they're gonna get the Odin fight, Earth's Fight, which looks like they took it right out of 14. I mean, the mechanics, the little AOE circles, everything is in PSO2, which is really cool.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, jumping a little bit into the live letter just because it fit here. We want to mention too that they did talk about it during the live letter today, and they said that no decision has been made yet about Phantasy Star stuff coming into 14, mostly because of just the way that their development schedule works. They plan for the long term, and then like this just kind of popped up. And
it makes sense that it's like they have to put resources on it to make it in the world. It's not like I think Sega's going to be like, here, have this development team.
It's like we can either release 4.0 on time, or we can put it off for 2 months so we can include a mini event for Phantasy Star Online 2.
Yeah,
which isn't even out in the West.
And considering how long it takes them to actually develop content, I would guess that if we were going to see any kind of PSO2 crossover, it would be sometime in the 4.x patch series. unless for some reason it became, like a high priority for them.
It's hard to say. But what Yoshida did say was that the quality of Odin in Phantasy Star Online 2 was really great, and so that they want to return with something great in 14 as well. So who knows what we'll get.
It might be the closest we ever get to PSO2 in the West.
Maybe Square should just publish Phantasy Star Online 2 for the West and be like, here you go. Enjoy.
It now fits.
Right? You've waited forever for this.
Mm-hmm.
Also in news this week, there was an interview with voice actress Laura Post, posted up online. Interesting little fun fact for you. The voice of Moon Brita was a GM. Mm-hmm. She was a senior GM for 11 and 14. So there's a decent chance that, if you had some in-game disputes or you got stuck somewhere, Moon Brita might have helped you. So that's your fun fact for the day. Thought that was really interesting.
That is really interesting. And I think when I read it, it was that they didn't even realize that she was a Square Enix
it was a normal
when she got the
normal like tryout process audition. And everything, and then afterwards they're like, oh, okay, yeah, interesting.
Why not?
So yeah, that's kind of cool. There's a free login campaign going on right now until April 13th. Sorry, April 13th. It's a 96-hour free login campaign. And so how that's going to work is once you start, the day you log in, it's 4 days. And then it'll end at 11:59 p.m. of the fourth day. So log in early on that first day if you want to make the most
updating.
of that. Or just, sub.
Well, sub after, I would say, is like, get your updates
or just join in, get your patch stuff done, and then come back when they do the next one. If that's how you want to roll. Also, we have Hatching Tide going on right now. That's going to end.
Who loves those mini games?
28th.
It was interesting. I did appreciate the variety, but I only ended up doing the egg one that you have to wait for it to come by because
easiest.
The ones that we kept moving back and forth. And I was like, oh gosh, it's like it just took me a couple tries, and that was the one that I was like, I'm never doing this one again.
My friend and his girlfriend lived together, and they both play the game, and they helped each other. He would count 2 of the colors on his hands, and she would count the other 2 colors on her hands, and that's how they got it done.
I had a piece of paper, and then that last one went by so quick, and it was like I just
guessed. That's my piece of paper right there.
I did
I had to guess on the last one, and I totally nailed it too. I got real lucky.
Golds. That's how I remembered it.
Yeah, I got real lucky on that last one.
It was unfortunate. I'm, you can't really even see the squiggles, but it's like I put the color columns up here at the top, and then I tried to watch and scribble, and then I look down and I go, damn it, it's like I didn't even mark the right area.
Yeah, that last one that went by so quick, I couldn't look and jot it down quick enough, so I just guessed, and I totally got it right. So that was really lucky because that would have been a pain to do. For that one where the egg is rolling around though, I busted out my Hermes shoes.
Oh, smart.
Remember those?
Yes.
I'm sitting there trying to run after it. I was like, wait a minute.
Do you have Bard?
I would.
I do.
I found that it would. I used the internet a ton with that thing because I was like, oh, okay, I see it there. The next.
I would just run the opposite way.
Is the Lancers because it does kind of a giant circle, so you have a.
Yeah, I would just run against it, and then when I saw it, I would start running. But yeah, that was tricky. I got my giant tower of eggs, so that's all I cared about.
I didn't care about the eggs tower. I wanted the song.
And the music scroll. Yeah.
Yeah, I went for the scroll because it's like, everybody was like, oh yeah, the orchestrion and all that, and I was like, okay, but then I bought one, and then I was like, oh man, this is great.
I was like, man, it'll be so cool to troll my FC with this, and I'm like, well, wait, there's not really anybody in the FC, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
So that's all good. Go ahead and we'll move into the letter from the producer live from earlier today. We're not going to read through every single question. Some of them are kind of boring.
You're welcome.
But we are going to highlight some of the cooler ones. Summoner Eggy Glamours, that was something they talked about a while ago. Because, people want their, Leviathan and Ramu Eggies, and that's way too much work to add them as completely different things, so they're going to glamour them. It's apparently a lot more work than they thought, but we're going to start getting those one patch at a time starting with patch 3.4.
I was
Like
so
one per
happy to hear
patch,
this.
or
It could
I
be.
guess,
I'm wondering
or
if
sub-patch.
we might see like a couple at one time, like a front. I don't know, but regardless, this is exciting news. Every patch that's like I've always been like, there's a thread on the forums like, hey, any update on this?
Is it this
we
patch?
talked
No.
about it,
Is it this
and-
patch? No.
and I'm fine with the fact that they're just kind of glamorous, because you really kind of have your three, your utility. You have a tank, you have a physical, and you have a magical. And it's like, okay, well, I don't think Summer really needs to get all like that specific. And people, as somebody who main summoner, people, feel free to disagree with me, but I've always wanted, like, I want my carbuncles back. I want, the new summons. Like, I want to have that option to kind of, use which ones I want to use when I want to use them. I want what I want, dadgummit. So I'm actually excited about it. At least this is news. I mean, in the sense that 3.4, great. It's not forgotten, and I think even with every patch, it'll be exciting, because that will be, what new summon are we getting?
Right.
This patch. And
The first one's going to be like the one that people wanted the least or something, right? It'll be like, here's Carbuncle. It's like, okay. What about like
I think
Ramu,
a lot of people actually
or...
want their carbuncles
Carbuncle
again.
probably would be higher up. Maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of people would want Ramu anyway, just for the beard. But
there you go.
I don't know. Maybe that's a good poll. Like,
well, see, for some of these though, they already have like the Eggy model, right? Like, I mean, they're they show up as ads in the Ramu fight.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like animations and stuff. I'd love a new like an Eggy Bismarck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like a little whale.
Right. A little fail whale that's like following you around.
Alphanos Ruby Carbuncle, that'd be cool.
Yeah, one of these days maybe we'll see.
One of these days.
They are looking at parry a lot of tanks out there right now, especially with melding. Now that we can meld Tome gear and Alexander gear, there's a lot of people who are like, what should I meld? And people are like, what about parry? And it's like, why would you meld parry? And so Yoshida said that large-scale adjustments are necessary for parry, and they're going to look into doing this in either patch 3.4, when the eye level increases again, or in patch 4.0.
Yeah, so
it's interesting in here. It's interesting in here, right? Because, and it's funny. Me and Brian were talking about this earlier. I'm like, but why not 3.5? It's either 3.4 or 4.0. Why not 3.5? Does this mean that 3.4 is the last 3.x patch? Well, it can't be, because where's the third tier of Void Art going to go then?
Yeah.
Right? That needs to be in 3.5.
You only get 2 this time. That would be
I don't know. We did.
I don't think
it's
that. I think it's just a matter when you factor it into kind of the resources and scheduling. So it's that you've got multiple teams all working on things for months, before that. So your 3.4 team who is working on it will try to get it on their schedule, and if they don't make it, they're going to be shifted into the 4.0, because you already have another team running the 3.5. Yeah. So it becomes difficult, and it's not impossible, but it becomes difficult to shift some of that code, because you still got to anyway. It's like, sorry.
It's like we could either make parrying relevant, or we could add a Phantasy Star Online 2 event.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want?
It's like, man, that's a hard. That's a tough call. I don't know.
That's the PSO2 question.
With patch 3.25, and that's going to be coming next week. A lot of people were waiting for that for first season for the feast to start. It's not going to start with the patch. It'll start about 2 weeks after 3.25, so that they can address the feedback. They're going to be reducing the feast match times, reducing the walls that disturb the line of sight for people, increase the frequency of appearance for the adrenaline rush box, and make it easier to destroy.
A lot of it is that you feel like the walls breaking up line of sight, is
making it so matches will go quicker.
Way to go! All right.
What would you like? Why? I saw those walls.
They got me killed.
Well, and it's like
they kept me alive.
I haven't had an issue with the walls, like, personally, but I know that's a lot of feedback that people have had. So with these adjustments, because they also said Dark Knight adjustments, Machinist adjustments.
Yeah.
They're like you said, reducing match times. It makes sense that they're postponing the season, the start of the first season, to kind of take into any kind of feedback, because if something is broken with these changes, they're gonna need to make changes,
Yeah.
and so that will be. I think that it's fair. It's a bummer because I'm looking forward to the season starting because I really love what they've done with the feast. But we'll talk about that.
It's kind of nice because it's, and not to say that they haven't cared about other content, but if you look at like Triple Triad or Lord of Verminion like tournaments. They just kind of like put it out there, and it's people do win trading and all that kind of crap, and whatever. But with the feast, they want to make it fair for everybody, so that's kind of nice. So that'll be 3 weeks, give or take, for season 1 to start.
Should be.
Let's see. People asked about having a PvP hotbar. So, if we have our gear sets now, maybe have it so you can have your PvP hotbar and then your PvE hotbar. They have to look into that. They know a lot of people are wanting it. But they said that in patch 3.3, you can store the point allotments for your PvP actions in a set. So that way, if you switch jobs in PvP or whatever, you don't need to go through. It's like, all right, how many points did I have in this one? How many points? It's there and done.
And the only time that you get a benefit for that right now is obviously if you've got like your points into Purify, which is gonna which is like across all the jobs. But this is awesome because as somebody like they made the changes to casters, on like with the 3.22 or something like that, and with that change, it's like, oh, I'm gonna play a caster, and so like I have my Dark Knight, I've got Paladin, I'm taking in casters, and it's like every time I'm like, all right, gotta go,
just
switch,
hit random, be like, I don't know, whatever. I'll just put it all into strength on my summoner and just see what happens.
Guys, I'm really strong. I'm gonna whack him with this book, and we're gonna win.
Death by books. They also talked about the ability to have different UI setups. I know a lot of people, if you're a healer, you move the party list or whatever kind of closer to where your hotbar is, so it's easier to click people to target up for heals and stuff. With patch 3.3, they're going to make it so that players can store, they hope, up to 3 different layouts, probably, like one for each role.
You can't find your F7 without looking at your keyboard?
But it's so far away from your left hand, right? You gotta
or from your
what I mean?
gamepad.
Some people they like all their keys that they're using like right around their WASD, And so for F7, that's a bit of a reach. What if you hit the wrong? See, or maybe whatever.
Ouch.
I'm kidding. Fusion's not like that, or whatever.
My God.
The PvP hotbar I think makes sense. It's something that I wanted for a while because it said you might want a different layout or structure, and in my opinion I always kind of thought that they might just like you have sharing and things like that you can set on your hotbars and and your cross hotbar, that I was like, well, maybe you just mark one as PvP so that when you're in PvP it becomes these are the hotbars that you have access to. But I think that it's good they're looking into it as far as execution. I mean, it's more, obviously that's more of quality of life. It's not going to prevent anybody from doing PvP or anything like that, but the PvP allocation thing is really absolutely nice. Huge, and it's exciting to see that it's actually 3.3 as opposed to 4.0. Yeah. It's like, please look forward to it. Okay.
I know my PvP actions right now on my Dragoon is just like, it's just, they're on my normal hotbar, and it's just kind of like, all right, I have some spaces over here. I guess I'll just, like, throw them over here and, like, whatever.
There's a way for me on Bard, but on Astrologian, I have almost an empty bar, so that was nice. Yeah, plus, Astrologian's really fun.
If I could,
are you liking it, or are you being sarcastic?
Nice. No, I like it. I like it in PvP.
Like, I like Astro.
Terrible.
Astro's fun. Good job. And it's really good for PvP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you got that light speed, man. It's so and now have you played since they made the with the 2.2 patch where you can actually cast without having to either
we'll get into that.
We'll dive into that more after the letter. It's like, oh, I've got opinions.
Oh man.
Oh man. All right.
New Disciple of Hand and land gear is coming. Item level increase for patch 3.3. For Disciple of Hand specifically, they said that there's going to be a new set of equipment that you'll be able to get, and it will be shared class, which means
that's what I was waiting for.
Yay, inventory
you only
space.
need one set. Yeah, it's going to be helpful until they do what they also talked about.
It's basically you're going to need to get this in order to make the new equipment. So it's a stepping stone, but it kind of reminds me of back in 2.4, 2.5 there was that gear you could get
with the chocobo on it. Or the artisans. It was all called artisans.
The artisans. There was the ones you could get with like the turn-in items too. Mm-hmm. Every couple patches they have that. Where it's just kind of like here's the gear that you can use on all your jobs, and so I like when they do that. New Red Script equipment is going to be updated, or Red Script equipment will be updated. I don't know if it's new stuff or if they're tweaking stuff. Who knows?
Updated seems to guess at new.
Well, it's Red Script equipment will be updated. It's not new will be added. It's Red Script equipment will be updated. So maybe the current stuff will. I don't know. Maybe the list gets updated with new items. I don't know how.
The reason why they say updated is that it doesn't sound like they're introducing a new type of script, but rather that they're just
It's Red Script equipment. So there's either the things that you can currently get with Red Scripts are being upgraded, or there are new items, and the list of purchasable items is being updated. Mm-hmm. The wording on that isn't clear. Anyway, new equipment is coming to patch 3.4, and so you'll need this new set to craft that. They're also, I love this, considering reducing the reuse time on cordials, which is so great.
Yeah, that'd be
huge. Now, if they could make them easier to get, that would be fantastic.
They're easy to get.
Leaves and stuff, right?
The high ones aren't, but the regular cordials are FC or Grand Company.
Oh, can you get them from Grand Company? I didn't know that. Darn. I've been still hitting up like the umbral rocks and crap when I get soils, and I've been buying them with those.
No, you can get them with your Grand Company points.
Man. I can't do that, though, because I need ventures. Ventures have a higher priority than cordials.
For ventures.
You don't get ventures.
It's a game of paper, rock, scissors,
you get the materia
you just gotta
now,
have
Brian.
To pick your priority.
Yeah, but you can get a venture and a materia.
Can you?
Yeah, you trade in the little currency for a relic.
You get... you don't get a venture and materia. You get the beast... I need the relic, though. I need the relic, though.
You're not done with your relic yet?
No, I'm not.
I'm 3/4 of the way done with my second one.
Wow.
Have you... This is why you're so tired and haven't gotten any sleep.
No, I had to rescue my mom.
She would have been completely done with her other relic if she had not rescued her mom.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks, Mom.
Wow.
Slow me down.
They are going to add ways to obtain grade 5 crafting materia in patch 3.3. They didn't say if that would apply to gathering materia, but I would assume that they would have something.
I think that goes hand in hand. As well. And as somebody who's predicting the future of the market, sell now. Right. If you're holding on to it.
Materia market has just been completely all over the place since the patch.
I have made so much money.
It's nice.
Thank you, Square.
Cha-ching. Talking about the orchestrion, they cannot set the music as a BGM right away because of how things are coded, I guess. But they are looking at making adjustments for that. Yay!
I really hope that they introduced it with that in mind as a plan. Meaning they looked at it and they're like, well, technically,
I don't know why
it's going to take a long time to make it BGM, but we can release it and make it kind of a sound object, and we can do that sooner, and so that they have it. So I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that it was the reason why it isn't BGM is because of some technical limitation, rather than people really they want to hear it.
It really should have been BGM to begin with.
Right.
So
what I'm saying is that
maybe they couldn't
to make it BGM
soon,
to begin with. It pushed it like 2 patches down the road.
Maybe.
I'm just saying we can collect the sounds now, and then they can address the technical hurdle down the road. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But that's my 2 cents.
They are also looking at a shuffle feature for the orchestrion, which is weird. I don't know how that's going to work, right? Like, because the way that the roles are attributed to characters and not the orchestrion
Maybe you
itself.
Just go down your list and pick several.
Yeah, that might be it. New Scholasticate quest is coming in patch 3.4. So that's a bit of a gap. Similarly, they were talking about Hildebrand. Hildebrand is going to get new quests with each patch, but they did say they had a lot of feedback talking about how short the last ones were, and so they told the lead to, quote, try and do what you can, which is so reassuring with how long the new ones are going to be. It's like, just make a whole bunch of, like, fetch quests in it and draw it out, and then people won't say they're short.
Like, then they'll say that, like,
worries
it's
me.
Pointless quests.
That really worries me. Because, I mean, Hildebrand was 2 quests. Hildebrand was 2 quests. We don't get Scholastic for another...
Till 3-4.
Till 3-4, which is a 2-patch gap for a side quest.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, given some of the characters in that, maybe Hildebrand and the Scholastic are gonna cross over each other. But that's weird. It's like they have no budget for side quests or something. I don't know. That's really strange to me.
I would love to see like some kind of behind the scenes documentary or something.
Right? There's like one guy in a corner that's in charge of like Hildebrand. It's
not all that unfeasible that they were running both, and so I don't know.
It's just it's unfortunate, but we'll see. We'll see if the lead does what they can and to make the quest longer. I don't know. The Warring Triad, this is another weird kind of answer. People are asking why it's not part of the main scenario, given that primals were in 2.x. They said it was removed from the main scenario story so that the extreme version could be challenged right away. Mm-hmm. And they say that players run into the Garlean Empire, so it's not unrelated from a story standpoint, but it is. It's completely unrelated from a main scenario standpoint. It's completely out of the main scenario.
Mm-hmm. The what I'm wondering what they might do is what they ended up doing with Aetheryte Hard, Titan Hard, and Garuda Hard, where if you hadn't run them, and then we only found this out with a couple of new players, but when you get to 2.4, you have to have completed those 3. And they're not, those hard modes aren't a part of the story, and so you have to go complete those, which kind of forces it to be completed to advance the main story. And so we might see something like that done here, where you get to a certain point in the main story, and it's like, oh, you need to complete this side story. It seems more side questy than the Scholasticate and Hildebrand anyway.
Yeah, but it's weird though that the idea of, it's a side quest, but now for the main story you need to have done side quests. Well, if we needed to have them required, why didn't you just put them in the damn main scenario to begin with? Like,
I don't necessarily agree with the reason for that. They could have challenged the extreme mode right away. It's like, I didn't think it was
people that are going to be into that content are going to be caught up with the main scenario, and 2 hours after the patch drops they'll be able to access it anyway. So I don't see why that's a big factor. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It will be interesting to see how it plays out, because there is still that precedence where it was Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan hard mode that had to be completed to advance the main story past 2.4. And so I don't know if they're going to do something like that.
I guess, and a lot of it depends on the direction of the narrative too. I mean, we know the Dragon Song War is going to be winding down a little bit. I'm assuming my big thought is it's going to start to focus on the Empire, and then we'll go Alamigo for 4.0, and that's it'll go in that direction.
It's got to.
But how the Warring Triad plays into that, I have no idea. I would have thought originally that it would have had a really big impact, but then it's a side quest, which is, I don't know. It doesn't make sense if it is going to be important.
First guy, you'll see how it relates later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
the way it relates is that it's in Azisla, which is part of the main scenario.
Mm-hmm. You need the triad. You need all 3 to complete. That thing. So, really, if you think about it, 3-4 kind of might start to, I don't know, connect that stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. It's again though. It's like one of those things. If it's that important, just keep it in the main scenario. That way, people have to do it.
Yeah,
make it a side quest, and then people have to play catch up after the fact or something.
I'll be the counterpoint. I don't really have a point, but I disagree.
Maybe a counterpoint. I'm just gonna go in whatever direction, and
I mean, it doesn't bother me that it's not the main scenario.
I like to associate myself with people who just agree with me. So
it doesn't bother me right now. It will bother me in 2 patches, depending on where that story goes and if it intersects with the main scenario.
It doesn't bother me that there are things outside of the linear main story. Like, I appreciate the fact that there are big, interesting stories outside of the main story. Like, technically, Alexander is outside of the main story. I don't actually find Alexander that interesting up until the very last cutscene of the
Alexander is so boring.
But the last cutscene's interesting.
I apologize if there's like writers or something listening. I have never been so bored, and I think part of that is just because of how big of a deal the binding coil was.
I've had a lot of people tell me that they've been skipping the cutscenes, and I could see doing that, but the very last cutscene I actually found interesting.
The last cutscene is interesting. There's a 0.03% chance that...
Don't skip that one, everyone.
No one skipped that
one. You really don't have to watch anything up to then.
Yeah.
Don't skip that one.
That's where it can be interesting, and so hopefully they're able to bring it together. And you're right, I definitely agree with you, Zenidra, where you're talking about, it's really cool that there's these big narratives that are going outside of the main story quests. It's going to be real interesting, kind of like our same kind of similar discussion that we've had regarding Hildebrand and the Scholasticate. Like, are they going to weave those in together somehow? And it's a challenge narratively, and obviously that's going to be something they're going to have to figure out what makes the most sense. But I don't know. I'm interested.
I mean, to be able to
there's a lot of stuff weaving in and out, or potentially able to weave in and out.
Black Sun Rising in the chat, kind of making a note on that, though, is that I don't find, like him, the goblins, he says they aren't particularly gripping as villains. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, I don't know.
Dude's got a cat. How is that not, like, awesome?
I hate that cat.
I'll get you.
And in what is it, 7, right? You have to stop the cat from loving his master.
Yep.
You have to break that cat's heart. And that is just... terrible. We're terrible people.
Incredible fight.
That's my least favorite fight.
Yeah.
Like,
I love the other ones. I mean, it's great mechanically. There's all kinds of things going on. But you want to, it's like at this point you're hoping that everybody knows what they're doing and you're not trying to teach anybody, because that could be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to storyline too, we were talking about how if things like Warring Triad are going to weave back into the main scenario. Another thing to consider too is 4.0, because 4.0 is not going to have a story gate on it.
That's going to be interesting.
It's kind of its own thing, but then when does it take place? How are the Scions going to be involved? Because they're kind of in everything. I think that's probably the biggest challenge, not just like, these Warring Triads and we can mention them later in the main scenario or something once more stuff in As Is Law happens. But with 4.0, that's kind of a bigger deal. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to approach that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because obviously the Garleans, and anybody who isn't well aware of the reason why they were interested in the Primals, they want to use them as giant batteries. And so if they were able to perfect that from the Allagans, that should have an impact on 4.0, because imagine their machines, powered by, summons. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Yeah, not that they have a really great track record of that. I mean, given the Citadel and Silver Tier, and
gotta break
go and tap into this underground etheric seal, and hey, there's a big dragon, and all our ships blew up. Whoops, our bad.
Let's call down the moon.
The Emperor's like, I just paid that off, and you blew it up. Great. It's like the robot chicken, the Star Wars robot chicken. What do you mean they blew up the Death Star? Yeah, we should just build another one. You know how much it's going to cost? The Agrius. Rest in peace. The Gold Saucer in patch 3.25, which is coming next week here, they're going to increase the challenge log MGP rewards.
Good.
Woo!
I don't think I've ever hit an MGP reward from the challenge log yet.
It's pretty easy. You just need to, when you go for, your daily, mini cactpot, just go and, play the games for, 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll get a few extra 1,000 MGP.
Play a couple a week. Triple Triad matches with your friend.
That I can see myself doing because it's out in the open world. But it's like, do I really want to go to the Gold Saucer today? Like, I wish they would bring out more of those features.
Every day you want to go to the Gold Saucer.
I pretty much only go when I get a card from PvE content.
I've been hoarding all my cards.
Great, another Brute Justice card. Let me go get my 5 MGP. I go every day.
Actually,
to get
I felt like a jerk. I lotted on the Echidna card from.
You already had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was you.
That's a problem too with like the Orchestrion rolls now in the Crystal Tower is people, even if they've already gotten them. It's see that's what makes it such a pain in the ass is it takes forever to get into the Crystal Tower, and then when you do, somebody else will win the lot on the roll if it pops, and it's just they need to do something for Crystal Tower cubes. I don't know what it is, but they are atrocious.
There's a lot of things.
Get 7 friends.
And it's that
get 7 friends and then hope that they have like a party, like 2 other full parties of friends, and then you all just queue up together. That's not right.
If we want to jump down, they talk about like what's this thing called a Grand Company Platoon in the live letter, and it's a couple notes down like on our outline. But essentially, it's the idea that you can have other companions that can go adventure with you. What would be particular interesting because you can form an alliance is that imagine like, okay, you and 6 other friends decide to form an alliance, and all of y'all are bringing in some of your companions, and then you're going to go try to challenge the Crystal Tower at that point.
Oh, obviously, we totally skipped over one.
We did.
While you were talking about that, yeah, because I don't think the platoon is going to work into that. They're going to add a raid finder in 3.3.
Yeah,
that's what we need. A raid finder.
It's a cross-server raid finder.
Oh.
Yeah. So he talked about that like around 3.1 because one of the problems they were having, especially with how challenging the DPS checks were with Gordius, is that people were transferring servers to go find more populated servers that were more into the raid. I
can't find the static. I'm going to world transfer.
Pretty much, and that's what the problem is. So a cross server raid finder, and they said it's he's targeting it for 3.3.
And
so
then they're gonna make a cross world party finder later.
They're trying to make Reddit useless.
What'd you say?
So they're trying to make Reddit useless.
Good.
What will be interesting is that as they start to do that, if we start seeing a less of a hard blurring between actual servers, and we end up getting this really more like massive data center,
that'd be nice.
I really like that about games like Guild Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to just go from server to server.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they mentioned that cross-world party finder, so that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, they don't have any details about that.
Mm-hmm.
But, Duty Finder is already cross-world, but a party finder would be really cool.
But while the platoon, back to kind of that other point, might not actually be something for that kind of content, they need to still put in some incentives to do Crystal Tower and older content, whether that's a roulette that's specific for 24-man content, or kind of like if y'all remember that weekly quest before 3.0 came out, making it relevant, just to say here is some upgrade materials and things that you can get.
I would do Crystal Tower if they gave me a tier 5 materia.
Yeah, right. It would just, hey, here's an option, and I think it would, again, it's that proper incentive to go, because it's great content. Like the Crystal Tower is a lot of fun, and me and some of my free company members are really like, well, yeah, it sounds fun, but we don't want to go deal with the queue and all that because, okay, we don't really need anything from it right now. But dropping in a grade 5 Matera or a couple other things, I think you would see at least some more interest pick up in it.
And I think it's important too when we talk about making it relevant. It's not that it needs to be relevant for the level of content it is, because it is. You can go ahead and you can get gear and everything. It needs to be relevant for those players that are past it so that they can go back. I mean, that's what Final Fantasy XIV does, is it makes older content relevant for high-level players so they go back into it and newer players can get into it. And that's what they really need to do.
They do that with everything except for Binding Coil and Crystal Tower.
No, they did Binding Coil. If you want the dyeable gear now, you have to go back into Binding Coil.
Right, okay, well, then I stand corrected. I was thinking more of that, like of a roulette.
Crystal Tower glamour gear. Everybody will be going in. There we go. Problem solved.
No. Most of that gear is not
I don't
pretty.
I don't really
Some
like
of it's pretty cool.
The Crystal
World of
Tower.
Darkness
Some of it is.
A lot of the World of Darkness
and the
stuff
first one, the Labyrinth of the Agents, I like.
Oh no, the Circus Tower gear is terrible. It's like boss mascot
gear either. I'm not a fan of the Void Arc, and I'm not a fan of the Ifrit tank gear.
I think all the new.
Why not?
I think all the new lore
hey,
gear
let
is
me
terrible.
just show my chesticles. It's like that's ridiculous. I for the first time ever glamored. I never have glamored before.
I enjoy the hell out of that.
I'm refreshing this into something.
Yeah, I usually haven't glamored my tombstone gear either, but I'm not a fan of any of it. Not even
like the Leviathan one.
Not really.
I have my Leviathan one on.
I'm not really feeling any of them, unfortunately. So, oh well. One of the things too, before we move on from Maid Finder, one of the things that they did talk about. Right now, if you look at Party Finder and you look at, people doing extremes or Savage or whatever, they always go like, if there's a tombstone bonus, like we're gonna boot you or all that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that they're looking at too is to have an achievement check to see that you've completed that content before. In order to join, if that's a requirement that they set. So that'll make that easier too for people that want to do that. But yeah, that should be nice. Raid Finder in 3.3 and then Cross World Party Finder sometime after that. That'll be really awesome to have. Mounts. Fenrir is going to be flying around in patch 3.3. And I'm getting the Skybear. I'm so excited. They are... After that, looking into the tank mounts to fly. So the lion, a panther they call it? It's like a black panther. Coral. It's a panther because they didn't have time to make a panther, I guess. And then the bear from the warrior. Yeah. So flying bears, guys. Sky bears. For all you warriors out there. I'm hoping there's supposed to be new flying mounts in patch 3.3. I hope they add a polar bear. Because I want like a legit sky bear mount. Partially because I don't have warrior leveled, and I don't want to have to go and get that achievement. No,
level it.
I'm terrible at tanking.
Okay, don't level it.
No, Save everyone. I get people killed, and I have tanks leave duties or healers leave duties because I can't tank. It was a bad experience. With those platoons we kind of mentioned a little earlier, we actually heard about those. I want to say back at PAX East last year was the first time you mentioned it. Basically getting a party together. It would be Grand Company based. And you can go in and run dungeons with them and level them up or something. They don't have really any new details about that, but they're planning on adding that in 3.4, and along with that is going to be the second lieutenant rank for Grand Companies.
My hope with this is that we see, if we remember from the Fan Fest, he talked about the Gambit system from Final Fantasy XII coming in, so we can apply some better UI, AI than our Chocobos currently have.
they always say Gambit. I just feel like that's what they just call their AI.
Well, that's what that is.
And I don't know if we're ever really gonna have the Final Fantasy XII Gambit system is what I'm saying.
I don't know. They said they use that system though to set up the basic fights, and it isn't until the more difficult.
Well, when you think about it though, all the Gambit was just. You're a programmer, Brian. Yeah. If this, then this.
Simple. If then else. Set up which. If they give us that, even if it's not the 12 Gambit system, but if they give us that ability, especially with these companions or even heck our Chocobo, I think that will add a fun layer that for people like me who want to kind of custom that out, can go in and say, okay, well, I don't want you healing me unless I'm under 40% health. So if that's not true, attack or do what do this or
they should bring back path companions for this. Remember those guys from back in the day?
We're both just shaking our heads now.
They should just walk in because that data was probably backed up, right? If you're a legacy player, can you just imagine your old path companion coming back? Half of the people aren't going to know who it is. This person just comes into the screen. It's like, hey, it's been a while. It's like, who are you? You don't remember me? No.
Where have you been? I could have used your help.
Yeah,
I was in an ethereal rift. Okay.
On the planet, and you just were getting drunk with some of the girls out there, because mine was totally he was into drinking and women. That's all I was gonna write, about.
But this old guy stuck me in an ethereal rift for 5 years, and then I had to save the world a couple times and stop a 1,000-year-old war, and I've been busy. Okay.
Yeah. It would be weird now at this point if they just kind of showed up hey, it's like...
It would be.
I think especially because there's a lot of people who didn't take part of that system at all and have probably no clue what we're talking about. While it would be kind of cool...
I almost see them
What do you say?
They'll bring it back for Alamigo. He'll show up like, dude, hey, stuff has happened in Alamigo. Let's go. And then you can be like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be the
I think they'd sooner add.
I was like, after we fought that one guy, I was like, I'm gonna go to Almingo. I don't know.
That'll be what happens.
I think they'd sooner add like retainers, right? Because I mean, you're already leveling your retainers, and they have jobs and gear, right? So that'd make a lot of sense to add them into your platoon or whatever. However, that's.
But then you'd have to pay them like ventures. You want to come adventuring? Here's a venture. It's an adventure.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. I mean, obviously, there's got to be incentive to do it, so there'd be rewards. So that would be worth it, maybe. It's like, okay, I can either spend a few ventures and probably get fish, or I can, take a small group of NPCs into, like, Tamtara and maybe get this cool glamour piece or something.
My hope is that we'll be able to combine human and the NPCs to kind of be able to, like, all right, let's go try this content. And we only have 6 people. All right, 2 you bring out your companion. I don't know.
Would you rather have a person though?
Well, yeah, you would, but ideally sometimes you don't have that option. And it's like, okay, let's say you're going to go do some, smaller group stuff, and it's like, well, we've got 5 guys, and well, it's just us, so we can.
I think it depends on
just bring in our companions.
I think it depends on what the aim of the content is, because it's originally it almost sounded like it could be a substitute for low-level dungeons. But that may not necessarily be the case. It might be a completely different type of content. And, I think it's just one of those things we're not going to really know until they tell us more.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a while if it's for
And they're talking about 3.4. So we're either going to FanFest and they're talking about it, or they've just released it and they're,
3. The platoon thing is how you're going to, like, level your parrying skill. You're going to have to go into a dungeon with a bunch of... they're also going to add new,
I'm making a terrible face.
If you can dodge a red,
as you should
dodge a ball.
Yeah, dodgeball. We'll just have. Well, there we go. We'll scrap parrying. He's just going to hit me for this. We'll scrap parrying for 3.4, but then we'll bring it in 4.0 with blitzball.
That's right. That's how it's happening.
You gotta be the goalie in blitzball to level up parrying.
I don't think so. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Book parry with your.
I'm happy that we heard about this. Hopefully, we'll we'll learn more. But 3.4 is still a while.
It's a ways away.
But the best part about this, they were kind of grouped it together. We're finally gonna rank up in the Grand Company again. It
only took like an entire expansion,
17 years.
and 3 patches. So it's like if you think of like we were all like every patch we're like and they remember it was like either 2.3 or 2.4. Maybe I got the numbers wrong, but they had that leaked image where the Grand Company seals had been increased.
I remember
and we're
that.
all like, are they ninja-ing?
Well, and then there was that 1 point. I can't remember if it was in 1.0 or if it was like early 2.0 where they had like the icons and everything for them. Like, cool, they're gonna add them.
They still do. When you go to your Grand Company and you're like want to buy stuff, it's like, hey, here's all these tabs that you can't access. What's behind them?
Cool. Does that mean they're going to add them soon?
No. You can't buy it. Like, give me I'm the Warrior of Light.
You'll be able to click on these tabs in 4 more years. Enjoy. Welcome to Realm Reborn.
They have your, mine's the Aquamarine Cross. And then you just turn it in and it's like 25K.
25
Company
I think I may have finally turned some of those in.
I kept them for this.
There you go. I still have like my Dalamud nuts and my
That's not helpful.
I find
no, it's not. But I have them
wings,
because legacy.
Yeah, I finally let all of that go. I was like, all right.
I still have all my beastman currency.
Mm-hmm.
I kept all those. There was somebody on my server for the past week who's randomly put up in the party finder that they'll make you the pets if you bring them the hard mode item.
Oh,
so I was like, I'm so glad I kept this. So they're basically giving you a free blood pepper, which is super nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I got a lot.
So that's 3.3 though with the Grand Company expansion. So that's a preview of something we're getting actually fairly soon in the future, not too far off now, which I'm excited about.
One of these days.
They showed off some of the gear too. That like you'll be able to get So I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's just gonna be glamour gear, because I think, wasn't it like I-55 or I-70 or something?
It's
like
gonna end up being glamour gear.
It's like, hey, here's some I-90 stuff.
I remember back in 1.0 the gear was actually somewhat useful.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays it's just, I mean, for the level, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's and especially now, especially that we have a glamour system now, because remember back in 1.0 we didn't have a glamour system. So
Right.
anytime that they added gear, it had to have a purpose. It had to be useful. But now they can just add, level 1 whatever they want. And it doesn't matter because people can glamour it.
Yep.
They had Minigawa on, their UI lead. And they didn't actually mention this in the Q&A, but if you go back and watch the video, they have a gear optimization button now, right in your character screen.
So it'll pull the junk out that you have?
It's
Well,
it's
it's going to
basically
equip the best, highest eye level item,
in each slot.
That slot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best in slot, but the highest eye level.
That'll be
which
nice
is
for if you're going to a
close
different
enough.
computer and you're like, I don't remember my gear set.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, I've so many times I'll either I'll format my computer and reinstall stuff, and I'll be like, oh right, gear sets. What did I have in
gotta
here?
back
And then
that up,
later
man.
later I'll be going to like turn in like crap dungeon gear. I'll accidentally like turn in something, and later I'm like, I used to have a ring for this job. I don't know where it went. So
you need to make
nice.
a practice of backing up your PC,
know it.
backup file to your cloud, because it's like
But you can't,
I do that,
I mean, especially people on like console or whatever, you can't really
oh yeah,
back that stuff
consoles
up.
don't have the access.
But it'll be nice to have best in slot, or you get new job or new gear that's shared on different jobs. You go to a job that you don't play, but you already have the higher. It'll be nice. It'll be very nice to have. We don't know when it's coming, but I mean, it looked like it was up and running. So probably 3.3, 3.4. We don't know for sure. They are working on a double cross hotbar, which is going to be basically like a double tap on your triggers to bring up a second hotbar. That's going to be in 3.4.
Yeah, they have done some tests on it and gotten feedback, and so they're still making adjustments. As a gamepad controller, I was like, oh, that looks cool. Obviously, in my world, I don't think I would put my main skills and rotations on it, but just having access to easily jump into something else might be helpful.
For a mount button or something.
Well, yeah, because it's like right now, like on my controller, like when you do the double hold, it's like, okay, here's some extra actions. And then the other way I've got shared, so I've got my mount, and I've got some marks, and I've got a couple of things like that are across all jobs. So one, button press, it's same way for every job. It has the same, like my limit break and all of that. And then on the right-hand side, it's specific for the job. So basically I've got, 3 bars for every job, and adding in another, another way would be helpful. And the first thing that comes to mind is, marks, like if I need to put up a sign on somebody, if I want to do that, if, things that I'm not going to have access immediately.
It definitely
I don't think I'm going to think
unused.
about it. I don't think in the heat of the moment I'm going to be like, click, click. Okay, there's the one important skill that I need, because most likely it's going to be on my main.
Yeah, it'll definitely be useful though. So, add-ons. They talked about add-ons. Oh my gosh.
In before 5.0, I'm just going to say it.
People are like, where are the add-ons? Like, what happened to add-ons, Yoshida? This was supposed to be out like 6 months after A Realm Reborn launched. For those keeping track, that was years ago now. They said that they had putting it aside due to a lot of discussion about DPS meters. I guess that they're worried people will try and make parsing add-ons. I don't know. Yeah. That's not like we can't parse with third-party things if we want to. So I don't know why that's a big deal.
No one would ever do that, though.
They did mention that they don't want inequalities between PC and console users, which I can completely understand. But
if they don't want those inequalities, they need to build in that functionality for both and make it, here's our official whatever. I personally don't think DPS meters are the answer. I think there's 1,000 other ways they can go about it in a very helpful and interesting way. But
a lot of the problem though is giving the community access to that API, right, to do those add-ons. They'll do whatever they want with them. I mean, somebody could add a parser, or and they, given their stance on parsers and stuff, they don't want that kind of potential to kind of rag on players, right? If you're not meeting DPS and stuff like that. But there's I don't know. It's always been one of those things where, okay, you allow add-ons. Well, how do you decide what add-ons can and cannot be used?
Right.
They've known since day one in 2010, 2011, whatever, that they were going to have console support. Right, so it's not like it's like a new thing where it's like, well, we don't want issues with console. Well, you've known forever since you've announced add-ons that you're going to have console users, and so then they have to make those available to those console users in theory. So I don't know how they're going to do that. They said though that they've been prioritizing the implementation of other expanded features instead of focusing on the add-on. So at this point, I don't even care anymore. Like, it's gonna come out and it's gonna be it'll be like the Batman v Superman of like gaming expectations. But
don't spoil it.
We've been waiting for add-ons forever. It's finally here. And
they kind of even said that it's like it might just be for kind of more visual than functional, and that was just like, okay.
Do you remember when they added the windower thing to 11?
Oh my god, yes. I was at the FanFest when they announced it. When they revealed, it was horribly programmed. It wasn't optimized very well. And so a lot of the problems that they had with 11 was, oh hey, so like the community made this tool because we didn't. And then they would make it and it wouldn't be as good. It's like, how do you
you have a template right there, just like, okay, this is how it works.
It's like, and then the whole time during 11, they're like, third-party applications, you'll get banned and everything. But then, they've never admitted to it, and they never will. But it's like, okay, wow, so like everybody on PC is using Windowware because our Windowware version sucks, and there's a lot of stuff, that's able to be accessed, like player TP values and stuff like that are in the memory. You can read them, but we don't have them displayed for whatever reason.
Well, heck, remember debuff cooldowns?
Yeah, I mean they finally ended up adding a lot of that stuff to 11, but it took them way too long to get with the ball. I mean, that's the thing with
so
the
add-ons. So are you feeling any deja vu here? Because I am.
Right? I think that's the problem with the add-ons too. It's that careful kind of check and balance or cat and mouse game where it's like, if there should be something in the game, right? Or if the community feels it should be in the game, like TP values, for example, Square should just add it to the game. We shouldn't have to rely on a third-party add-on to do that. And I think that's partially why I just don't care about add-ons at this point, because they've been listening to feedback and stuff. They added TP values for party members, so it's like, all right, we won't need the 14 Windowware plugin for TP or whatever now, for example. So I don't know, if there's stuff that needs to be in the game, Square should just add it. That's how I see it. So I don't think we even really need add-ons, but I'll be curious to see what people do once in 20 years we actually get the add-on system working. So.
Yeah, because essentially you could end up getting just that add-on bloat, and then the fear is obviously that the community then would require people to have certain add-ons, and you have some people who are like, I don't want it. It's like, I just want to play the game and have fun.
At a point they become required, and it's just if it gets to that point, it should be officially included.
The problem we have right now is that I know a lot of PS4 players are like, how am I doing? Like, am I performing the best that I can, or am I falling short? I don't know. Let me call a PC player up.
Well, to that regard, though, we now have Stone Sky Sea.
Well, you do, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think we need meters. I think they can do it with content. And one of those things that they could easily do is that if you form a full made party, like for 4 people or 8, like you're like, hey, we're a pre-made, we're going to go do X dungeon. At the end of the dungeon, if they give you your stats, because you're a pre-made, and if you don't want to share your stats, well, okay, that's fine. Maybe you say don't, whatever.
Or it gives you just a personal stat window. It doesn't give you a group stat window.
Or just for you. Hey, how'd you do? And the thing is that, and this would be a fun, kind of a data scientist kind of thing, is that because you're on a data center, like if you go run the Aerie as a Dragoon and you finish it, and it says, hey, you did this much damage, you avoided this much damage, you mitigated this, you healed this, you killed this many, blah blah blah, and it just says, out of all the Dragoons on your data center, for this dungeon, you were you rank number 10. It kind of just gives you that feeling. Or you're like, oh man, it grades you, in that sense where in like Final Fantasy 13 and other games like that, they've kind of done that in the past. Now, I'm not saying this is, obviously this 2-minute idea that I'm spouting out here is going to be full of flaws and would want to be thought out, but that concept is all of a sudden, instead of making a meter, you've made content. You've made it to where you could take that idea and you could say every month, just like with PvP seasons, you have PvE seasons by dungeon, and you can go and as a pre-made.
Maybe that's part of the platoon system. We don't know. It could
maybe it is. And you could be absolutely right. But that what we do need, and what I hear a lot of PS4 players talking about is, they need more information to know how they're doing, and the only way they get it is when they go in to a dungeon with a PC player, and then they give him hell because he's parsing, they're not, and then they find out I just needed to do this, and all of a sudden my rotation's better. Hopefully you run into the nice person who is who says, hey, do this. This might help, rather than the jerk that says, you suck, you should die, you're wasting my time.
Well, the benefit of that, though, is if they are being a dick about it, you can get them reported. So
right, but ideally we could hopefully avoid that situation outright. So
I love that idea, actually, having that in game. There is, for people who parse, a place there they can upload their parses, and it does that. It tells you amongst all the people who have uploaded where you are.
It's content and information ideally brought into a situation that makes it fun and makes it interesting, because you could try to compete every month for whatever, so rather than using a third party tool like that, which is awesome, it's like somebody has to have made it, so maybe we can figure out what that is, because it's I would like to know, how am I doing?
Let's see, increased inventory.
Yes,
something people have been wanting forever.
Are you kidding me?
Need a little more time, but they are looking to increase inventory for armory chest and inventory.
Huge. Finally. That's gonna be so nice. I don't feel it so much. Inventory is great. Armory for me right now is more important. So that's where I will benefit more from that.
Do you craft a lot? You do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep all the stuff on you? In your inventory, in your retainers?
I do. I do go to my retainers and stuff, and the
How
thing
many retainers do you have?
4.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I have 7, and I still barely have enough room for all my
The best thing about
junk.
the thing about crafting, though, is that you can go on a recipe and say search, and it'll say if you have the item or if you don't. So it's I already have that. Okay, let me go to my retainers and stuff like that. No, it's I'm not knocking that inventory isn't important. What I'm saying is that for me personally, the armory expansion is way more important, because I'm always filled up. Because it's if you do craft, okay, you got a gear set for every craft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got it. Well, thankfully, my gear sets for my gathering is right now they share pretty much all the gear except for the mains, but I still have to hold onto those. And then I main all 3 tanks. I'm working on all 3. I got 2 healers at 60. I'm working on Astro. So it's I have a busy armory, so expanding that's gonna be just phenomenal.
All my jobs except Dark Knight are 60, so I have a set for everything.
Really what they need for armory is to have one spot for every helm, chest, whatever, one spot in each of those for every job, and then +2 just for to be able to swap stuff out, and for just glamour or random town gear or something that you don't want glamored on to whatever. And then there will never be a problem with armory ever again, as long as they keep that updated when they add new jobs. That's all they need to do for armory.
In a lot of cases you don't need all of that for maybe accessories, because there's some crossover.
That's true. Yeah, but that way guaranteed, because they're not gonna add 5 slots to one and then not the other. You know what I mean? It's going to be, I think, uniform. So if they can do that, I think we'll be good to go for forever.
For a while.
Well, like I said, if they keep it updated with new jobs, then we'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was it for the big Q&A portion. During the intermission, they had a little slideshow, and they talked about some new merchandise that I don't think we're going to get most of it.
Merchandise.
They actually started the stream. There's a Paisa sleep mask. For whatever reason, they're let's make a Paisa sleep mask. So they're gonna have that. They are adding new ninja and white mage shirts, which are similar to that warrior shirt where he's like on the bear that they added. I don't know, was it like a year ago now or something? The ninja, I think it's like a Rogadin ninja with the bunny like riding him, like the you messed up bunny.
That's cute.
And then the white mage one is the white mage with a unicorn.
I like the No Pets Allowed shirt. That was
with like the angry carbuncle.
Yeah,
it's like hope you have your rabies shot because that thing is coming after you. There's a new black phone case, and it looked like some coin purses, some like mascots like Moogle, Chocobo, and stuff like that. They did show the Fat Cat and the Gubu plush. Those are available to pre-order right now in the NA store for $39.99 each, and they're going to be coming on June 29th. So those we know we're getting.
Do they come with anything? Because we already have those pets.
No.
That's why I was like, okay,
just the plush.
I still want to get. I want to get the carbuncles, so I can get also the carbuncle minions in game, and yeah, I don't have that money. Gotta pay for the house.
Yeah. So out of all that new stuff, we were getting 2 plushes.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a house.
So now is the time. I want to go on a little bit of a rant here.
Please rant away.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah, right. I was looking up that Fat Cat and Gabu plush stuff, Gubu, when doing the outline, and I noticed that on the North American store for Square Enix, every time you buy something, you get like Square Enix points or whatever they want to call them, and you can use those to buy rewards. For 25 points, you can get a Heavensward soundtrack sleeve. What? It's like the little sleeve that goes over the actual jewel case, right? And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, you have to get that extra. I got one when I got my soundtrack from CD Japan. If you bought it from Square Enix or anywhere else, apparently wherever they got their stock from, they don't have the CD sleeve, which is kind of weird. But if you look at it, so you need to spend 25 points just to get this sleeve, right? 25 points at the Square Enix store is going to be at least $60. The soundtrack is $50, which means you're going to have to spend over $60 to get enough points for the sleeve. Then you have to spend shipping on the sleeve. And everybody's always complained about how expensive shipping is on the Square Enix store, and there's not like a lower option. You have to spend $7.99 to ship a cardboard CD sleeve.
Can I just print it out?
I paid less than $49 for my soundtrack from CD Japan. That includes shipping. That includes the sleeve. If you want the soundtrack and the sleeve from Square Enix, you need to spend over $65.
That's ridiculous.
There's true anger in your voice.
I am so annoyed with this for a long time now, being a big Final Fantasy XI player, being a huge collector of things. I mean, you can see posts. I got, wall scrolls and 14 stuff all behind me here. And it's always been a pain in the ass trying to get Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV merchandise. And it's, to Square Enix's credit, they have been getting better with getting more merchandise available to us. We had the carbuncles, I think, first in North America. They were at was it Anime Expo or one of those? I think they sold them first, which is great. But then you look
Isn't that the same for the male Moogle?
I don't know.
We got it
at the FanFest.
They were at FanFest, but I want to say they went up in Japan right around the same time.
I know that they took a couple months to put them up.
Yeah, and I think the same was true with like the art book too. But I mean, if you look at our store, the Square Enix North America online store, compared to the Japanese store, they have over twice as many items. Some of those do include books that are, published by Japanese publishers, so okay, I'll let those slide. But we have 32 items in our store, 33 if you want to include the stupid sleeve for the soundtrack. They have, 81. I don't understand why we can't get a lot of this stuff. And then today during the live letter, they announced they're doing this 7-Eleven campaign where if you go and you buy drinks at 7-Eleven, you get codes and you can get some cool gear like a Mater Butler outfit. And if you get both of those, you get like this cool fat Chocobo mount.
Right.
Where's our
outside
equivalent
of Square
to
Enix, other game companies in America have done something similar of like get this code and renew it.
Oh yeah, I mean look at like
it's a but it's only
Destiny and Red Bull. Buy Red Bull and you get a shader. Like
you get a special
cool. That's fine.
A special quest.
That's fine, but when it's such a huge gap between I mean look how many I think over 5 million, right, was the last number they gave us for accounts for 14, and we're still struggling to get merchandise. Like
there's got to be some like you said, they're getting better.
You don't need any more. Your room is overrun.
I am moving soon, and I'm going to have my own room dedicated to all my Final Fantasy stuff.
All right, fair enough. Point taken back.
Well, when
go ahead. No, I was going to say, like, the only thing I could think of is that while they are getting better, I got to think that there's got to be some tariff, some kind of laws regarding like manufacturing in Japan or
and we talked to Yoshida about this, and Silent Apocalypse, sorry. And Chad is saying it's all about international licensing.
Right.
2 years ago at FanFest, this was like right after like the Hildebrand shirt went up in the Japanese store, and I was like, that's awesome. I want that. It's not available in North America.
I still want a Meteor Survivor shirt. Anyway,
that one I think you can get. It was available. I don't know if it still is.
Right. I need to lose weight because then it'll look better on me.
Those things are tight, yeah. But I asked Yoshida, and a lot of it is because of internal stuff with Square Enix, where they don't want to sell something in another country if they're not making it in that country.
Right.
And I understand to a point that a lot of this is over his head too, but at some point, I'm really hoping that whoever's merchandising in Japan wakes up and he realizes, wow, we have millions of people playing this game. We could make a shitload of money if we actually made this stuff available in North America. Meanwhile, Japan's like, hey, we got new shirts and coin purses and phone cases, and we have like these crane games, and we have like Tonberry and Cactar lamps that are super awesome. We get like, here's your Gubu and Fat Cat plush for the next like 4 months. That's all you get. And then you have to pay $7.99 to ship a cardboard sleeve if you want one for your CD, where that was almost like the standard for it in Japan when you went and picked it up.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's ridiculous.
It's
unfortunate. It's maybe not ridiculous because there's things that are obviously out of Yoshi P's control that we're not fully well aware of, but it's unfortunate.
Well, and we have Black Sun Rising in the chat here. I want me a Ravana clear shirt.
Heck yeah.
You can buy all the clear shirts on the Japanese store. You don't even have to in North America. You don't even have to eat them. in North America and Europe, they were only given out during events. And I know in North America, we never even got the Gilgamesh or the Ramu one. They had both of those at Gamescom one year. We haven't seen those at all. And so that's kind of another bit of annoyance, especially if you're somebody that goes around to like all those kinds of events. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to like PAX and PAX East and PAX South and E3, and I'm gonna get like the whole set of shirts. Well, you can't because they don't make them available to us. They don't have all of them at the events, and then they put them up in the Japanese store, but not the NA store. We know they can sell shirts. They've sold the Meteor Survivor shirt. They've sold the Gaia shirt. Why not the other shirts too? It's like clearly you're able to import them, or you have somebody in the U.S. that's making these shirts.
And there's obviously a market.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, if there wasn't a market, if they were going to be like, oh, we made this and no one buys it.
Look how fast the Delivery Moogle plush pre-orders went out. I mean, look at how quick the Carbuncles went out.
It was like the first one to be sold out from just the store, the fan shop or whatever. Yeah.
And it's just, I don't understand why in 2016, with a game that has over 5 million registered users, we can't get the stuff across multiple territories. It doesn't make any sense to me. And as a fan and as a collector, especially, it's very irritating.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll come out and they'll be like, hey, we have these cool Carbuncle plushes, and North America's getting them first. You're not going to get, like, the next 40 items we release, but you'll get these Carbuncle plushes first. Like, thanks, Square. You're so generous. Come on. At least we get the lore book in English. I have a whole stack of, like, 11 books that are in Japanese. I can't even read them. So it'll be nice to actually have a book from Final Fantasy that I can actually read. So that's nice, because if that was Japanese only,
that is good. I was like, that or you
added
need to go
the rant.
Learn how to read Japanese.
Yeah.
I think there's a program
Get some Rosetta Stone up here.
Rosetta Stones.
Yeah, it's just it's very annoying from a fan perspective. That's it's still hard to get merchandise, and that in addition to again going back to I hate to sound like I'm ranting about just a CD sleeve, right? But it's one of those things where in Japan you got like different CD sleeves for the soundtracks depending on where you buy them. Like Tower Records has like the CG Dragoon. If you buy it from Amazon, it has like the Bismarck artwork. Somewhere else had like the Ravana artwork. The one that they have on the store is like it was one that was available at the SE store and then a lot of other retailers, right? Like it was just kind of like a broad CD sleeve. And we know that Square Enix has them because they're selling them as some special extra thing for 25 points, but they're not including them with them. Like,
right.
I don't know. And the fact that you have to pay $8 for shipping for it, like I already hated that's their lowest shipping too, and it's like a week or something for the time, and that was already always expensive. And the fact that it's like still that much for a stupid cardboard sleeve, like, are you kidding me?
Right.
It's ridiculous. And I got it cheaper and I got it earlier. Buying it from not Square.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. It's just it's great that they're making some of this stuff available for NA. I appreciate that they've made some effort to get us stuff. That having been said, the shipping on the Square Enix Online store is outrageous, and I shouldn't be able to get it cheaper and quicker with a CD sleeve from other retailers that are importing. It makes no sense.
To me, that just sounds like it's it's a matter of that department that manages it. Because it's that you have another business that's what they do, import export, and Square Enix maybe like you said they're getting better. Maybe they're still building out that. There's
little trickles. Like we get like plushes. That's our thing. We'll give the plushes to America, but like all these super cool shirts that Fusion X guy wants, no, those are going to be only available to buy.
Specifically Fusion X.
Yeah, specifically because of this guy, you can't buy these outside of Japan.
It's going to be funny if we see some kind of official note on the forums. We do want to clarify it is because of this guy.
Yeah, right. That'd be great.
Because he asked for it.
I'd get banned from the forum so quick with a reply to that. It's just it's frustrating, it's irritating, and it's disappointing. And I hope that Square fixes this and has more equality with their merchandise available to fans that aren't in Japan. I get that they're a Japanese company. I get that for example, they have like the kind of like glamour books, but those are published by Japanese publishers.
Right.
I get that. But having like official merchandise that's like shirts and keychains and all of this other stuff, and not having that available to other players is just stupid. And then the things that are available on your store to us are cheaper and are a better it's a better deal just overall getting it from somebody else. Like that's not how it should be. The official store should be the best deal. It should come with all the little trinkets that could come with that kind of thing. And it's not. It's really expensive. It gets delayed because of issues with customs, which is hysterical. All the Heavensward soundtracks got delayed because of customs. Meanwhile, mine shipped like a day or two before it even released. So that way I had it like the day or the day after it released in Japan in North America. It's like I don't understand. I'm not going to claim to understand the logistics of it. I know it's not all in Yoshida's hands. There we go. I know it's above Yoshi, like right because he's also game director producer. He's not like head of marketing for Square Enix International or something. Like I understand that it's not all in his hands, but he could easily like go up to like marketing guy's office and be like, "Hey, please get your shit together. We could make a lot of money."
So next time you get to see him, are you gonna rant some more?
I might bring it up.
It's not gonna be that long for you.
I might bring it up. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like they'll be at PAX East. I don't know in what capacity yet, but
don't spend the whole time.
Maybe I'll run into him and hopefully like Koji or somebody else that can translate will be standing right next to him and be like, "Hey, so merchandise." He'll be like, "Oh crap, I remember you." I hate to be that guy, right? Because I do understand to a point. It is very much out of his control. But at the same time, it's like, yo, I want to buy my Hildebrand shirt.
You should just look up the head of the marketing department and send them a letter.
You should.
There we go.
Take action. The Yeah, because it's that, it really is. It comes down to,
Or I'll just send them like an order form with like a wad of 50s. Just be like, I want one of these, one of these, one of. That was me at FanFest because they had the order form before you get up to the counter. I'm just like, okay, I don't have that, so check that, check that, check that, have that, check that, check like.
And you can only get one Moogle per person in your group.
Yep.
And that's okay.
I wanted one for myself and one for my friend.
Well, tell your friend to order separately. He's right behind you in line.
No, she stayed at home.
Oh well, then that's their problem, isn't it? If you wanted it, you should have gone to Vegas. Oh well, but that's my rant. It's it's annoying. It's an issue that's been an issue for years and years and years. Since Final Fantasy XI. So I do appreciate the efforts that Square has made up to this point. It's still not enough.
Yeah.
And so now we'll move on to our talk about Hands-On with the Feast.
Yeah.
I know Brian's excited about this.
Oh, man.
I don't really care. Sinidra has PvP'd. I don't think she's super into it.
Yeah, so I've apparently at least gotten
Brian
somebody to try it.
lives and breathes
PvP. So they released it, and I mean, obviously, so like there's been reports kind of speed hacking and things like that, and there was also the issue in which they came out that the way to get the rewards that they're talking about for the seasons right now is solo queue. They didn't have anything that they were planning on offering. Well, let me phrase that. They were still waiting and seeing if they wanted to do something for group like 4v4 match parties. And so they have posted up on the official forums, some responses to that saying, they're always looking into that it's not that 4-on-4 match parties aren't going to have, access to the rewards. But so getting into the game though, so I've played it as Dark Knight, Paladin, White Mage, Summoner, and so they recently also just nerfed Summoner. But one of the best changes they've made, and it made it across the PvP since the introduction of the Feast, was the fact that mages can actually cast now without being interrupted by somebody just like sneezing on them. Because it's funny, because it's like, your PvE is geared you to be able to stand and cast and do these things, and you run out of AoEs and stuff like that. But with PvP,
you get a healer, and it's like that dragoon looked at me funny. I suddenly can't heal.
Right. It's like, okay, that means I've got these two abilities to do instacast or no interrupt, and then I can cast, and then the rest of the time it's like running around, and that was how it was. So they made it to where it was like 15% of your max health when you go into PvP, which is good because that kind of helps because you can do a balance of fending gear along with like some mind or int, so you can kind of play around with what that threshold for you needs to be, but you can actually get off cast now.
That's a crazy gear setup that just feels like way too much work to me though.
It's not actually that much with the gear set system because you can just build a PvP set and then it's like when you can regular PvE, but the all in all, like being able to cast is helped. It's also helped when playing other teams. So before the change to mages, I felt that the battles were pretty one-sided. It was literally, everybody got all the coins for one team pretty quickly, and then or you did. So it was like you kind of have it at pace. But with the changes with mages and healing, I think that I've seen a lot more even matches, and what they've seen because of this, and this ties to what we saw also in today's live letter, is that matches are running the full length as opposed to any full shutouts. Those still can happen, but you're seeing that again, that match the full length, and so they're reducing again, and they talked about it today with 3-3, they're reducing the overall match length, and it's at 8 minutes right now. We'll probably see it maybe at 6-7 minutes.
They weren't like gonna have it, but I think it was a couple minutes or something.
Yeah, and because it's like they're seeing that if 8 minutes can be a long time, with a lot of back and forth. The things I love about the Feast is obviously you got respawning, so it's not like you get into a match and then if you get wasted, then it's like, well, I gotta go back into matchmaking now. You get the whole coins thing. If you have a team that's somewhat knowledgeable of the system, it can be a lot of fun because there's no point in going and killing that person anymore because they have literally nothing that's going to help us win the match.
Oh, that drives me nuts. Yeah.
Let's go here. Now, again, you're still going to have that. Like, we're going to chase this guy down. Like, if we kill this guy.
That's the problem I found with a lot of strategies. A lot of people, initially at least, I mean, they did nerf Summoner a little bit, but when it first dropped, everyone's like, all right, get the Summoner. It's like, cool. All right, so they'll mark the summoner, and for the rest of the fight, everybody is targeting the summoner. It's like, he doesn't have any coins. Why are we killing him? Like,
that's where
it's only if you killed him the first time.
Look at the little box, guys. Well, that's the other thing I don't like too. Is
they do need to make that more apparent. They do like the little box is fine, but in the heat of it, especially on an 8v8, you got so much going on. It's, unless you stop and you're like looking around, and seeing who you should target, or you have somebody who's kind of taking lead and making the marks, you're kind of at a loss there. But
I was actually going to say that box they give the UI with the teams and the coins and stuff, terrible design. It's either way too big or it's so small and out of the way that you can barely read it. There's no middle ground. They need to go back and they need to tweak that, because I remember first going into the feast for the first time and having that box pop up for the first time. You can't it's like half your screen. You can't see anything behind it. How are you supposed to do PvP? But you need, especially if you're one of those people that, wants to not be an idiot and not kill the summoner that has no coins, you need those stats up. And so they need a better interface for that, because it's way too big, or if you try and scale it down, it's hard to read. There's not really, it's not good. I don't like it.
Playing kind of all three roles as a tank, who then, if I'm doing my job and I'm picking up the coins, man, you become squishy. And so I think that's helpful, because that means, okay, we want to get, obviously you want the tank because he's got a lot more defense and he's going to be able to defend a lot easier. But, it ends up really kind of ideally, again, like if you have that kind of person who's taking charge right now of keeping track of who should be targeted, it does shift the focus and the strategy in the game. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I think obviously the things that I want to see from it is more maps of different varieties and things that I think everybody would pretty much want to ask for. I'm looking forward to what Dark Knight changes they have, because it's like, while Dark Knight's fun, like I was like, all right, all I'm doing is just keeping the healer busy. I'm not able to beat them.
Increased parry rate is what you're going to get.
Yeah, increase that parry rate.
Here's your PvP buff, parrying.
The other thing that's interesting, obviously, about the feast as opposed to anything else, is that they actually show player names. And so you kind of have to look at the name and say, oh, this is who the healer is, because it's not telling you who the healer is, which I think makes sense, because I think as somebody who, might want to try to be a little bit more, sneaky, that it's like, okay, they're not targeting me yet, because they either don't know I'm the healer, which kind of makes glamours more of a impressing thing. Like, hey, strategy. I'm a mage.
Have everybody put the same thing on.
Don't glamour the
find that one set of heavy armor that conjurers can just happen to equip.
Oh, that must be the tank.
Yeah.
But Paladin's super useful with Cure and Protect and things like that. Warrior's super durable. So yeah, and then like they said, they're gonna make some changes to Machinist. And the problems I guess that people felt were Ninja and Dark Knight kind of feeling a little weak. But it's a lot of fun. Matches are, in this case right now are 8 minutes. It looks like going to be getting a little shorter. It's quick content. You can easily cap on your lore. You're not really so you're not setting yourself up for something that you can't do. So I think hopefully we'll see a lot of interest in it, and a lot of continued interest in the mode, because with seasons, I think what we'll see is that, especially when we have this gap of 3.2 to 3.4 before we get the next Alexander, that this will hopefully keep a lot of people who would normally like kind of take a break into kind of like that as a form of their end game. With the mode.
I don't know if it's gonna go that way. I don't know. Granted, I think it will get more people interested in PvP. But looking at seasons, I think this is more there for people that have been into PvP, as opposed to trying to get people into PvP, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's working.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped in. I enjoyed it. I mean, I've had some one run where we just obliterated the other team. It was like a 2-minute match. Not even.
Feels good. It feels real good.
It does. And then the next match, you just get your ass handed to you. So
I actually found a lot more people were friendlier than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange for PvP, but the first time I went in there as Astrologian, I was kind of scared, because I'd heard that
you just know, like, as soon as you step in there, everybody is trying to kill me.
Yes. But I ended up in a group, and I just told them flat out, like, hey, I've never really done this before. If you have any tips for me, that'd be super great. And the summoner was like, everyone is going to try and kill me. Keep me alive.
Good plan.
Did, and we won.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really good, and it's I would say for anybody out there who PvPs, doing PvP isn't an excuse to be an asshole to anybody, and it's that
doing anything isn't an excuse to be an asshole to anybody.
But it's that Zenidra, your anticipation and fear is founded because you can run into those, and I think unfortunately with more frequency because of the nature of the more competitive nature rather than the cooperative nature of PvE. However, that being said, is that I run into tons of really nice people, and I try to be nice and just kind of generally like help out and give tips, and occasionally you run into somebody who is like, we're not doing this right, y'all are, it's like, dude, it's a game, like, the Eorzea will continue on if we don't win this match, and we're not even doing ranked.
Though, I thought that the 4-man was actually more fun than the 8-man.
Mm-hmm.
And aren't they sort of concentrating more on the 8-man for the whole ranking thing?
No, the
4-man ranking exists for solo, and it exists for fully matched. So essentially, you can go in with your 4-man team, and that's a ranked playlist, and then solo is going to be a ranked playlist. 8-man is more just for fun, and there's no ranking tied to it. The problem
I felt like it was really just chaotic.
It is. 8 has definitely got way more chaos because it's 8v8. So it's like you got 4 healers out there. You got so many things going on that it can be very chaotic. But it can also kind of be fun, and it's a good way to kind of learn to where your role isn't so specific. But you're right. I do actually find the 4 more fun, namely because it also adds that more strategy. Your coins hold more weight. Your individual performance means more. You're the only healer. You're the only tank. Or you're the close-up DPS or the far away. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna make you sad now, Brian. The main reason that I decided to do the PvP was because of the Ocean bow. It is gorgeous, and I need it.
Well, I'm glad that it doesn't. You don't have to have one motivation to get into the content. My hope is that more people will check it out, especially with the mage changes. The big problem is that you have like a lot of people who play healer, and they're like, I don't know about PvP because I can't get a cast off. Well, you can now, and it's that will hopefully help you be able to get some casts, as well as it's hard for them to kill me. Like unless they're putting their full effort behind it, and I don't and all my cooldowns are up. Like I have great survivability in PvP now because I can get off a cast. Let's say because before if you didn't have swift cast, well I can't sleep you. But now I have a better chance of actually getting that sleep off and being able to recover. So I feel like it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. And I felt like with what I've seen with the matches that having done it, there is definitely a better balance in closer matches that I've seen. But I'm interested in how we go forward with actual ranking because they say they're going to have that. You shouldn't, as a bronze, I guess, be getting matched up against platinums. And as long as that is true, and as long as there's enough people in the queues to make that content fun, I think this is something we can definitely see progressing. And then again, like to something that for Zenidra in the system, if there's great glamour stuff that people can go for, if we have these wolf marks, like they've just been sitting there. Now it's like, oh, I can go buy these things. And that gives me some kind of extra motivation to do it.
On that note, too, I also want to say I think the new PvP armor is also hideous.
I haven't seen the new stuff yet.
Some of the weapons are cool, like the Machinist Revolver, I think it's called the Revolver. It has like a custom reload animation, which is really cool. But like the armor in general just looks terrible to me. I have not liked any of their newer
the Ocean
armor.
Stuff across the board.
I actually went back and got some of the PvP armor from like 3.0 because I can afford it.
I'm gonna have to do that.
Right?
I'm getting close to cap on wolf marks. So I'll just go buy me some stuff.
I'm sure there's people out there that love the new lore gear, love the new PvP gear. I think it all looks terrible.
I don't like the new lore gear.
No.
I that's what got me into Glamours. It finally did because I always was like, oh, I like this. This is new.
I would always use the new, just have the lore gear or the tome gear look because it was like, hey, check out this cool new armor. But now it's like, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna use some. I'm glamouring some PvP, some of the previous PvP stuff now because it looks, got diet is cheaper now but
think of it this way: Bard previously unicorn, so it got better.
And
it did.
I don't know. Before that, it was a bird. I mean, like,
yeah.
the Bard one's not terrible. I think it's the one I like the most, but some of the other ones are. I hate when they try and do like, and the Skilla gear from Circus Tower had it, where it's like it looks kind of like a sleeve, but it doesn't wave or there's no physics to it. It's just like straight, and it looks really awkward when you move. Like that kind of stuff drives me nuts, and I think there's some of that on some of the new PvP gear, but it's just largely I haven't been liking much of the new gear.
Now, if anybody's more interested in obviously more of my opinions, I posted an article up on Gamer Escape about it. The negative that I would call out is that if somebody is particularly interested in doing PvP, it's there's a high cost, because if, let's say I had a friend who wanted to come in and was like, hey, this sounds sounds great. This feast mode sounds awesome. I'm like, great, come join me. You're gonna have to play like 60 to 80 hours of this RPG to get to the feast, and there's no real perfect solution. I mean, it's like I've put a couple imperfect ones there, so there's no perfect here's the problem and here's how they fix it. But the reality is like, and the best news is that game, that RPG, is awesome. It's like, obviously it is, because we sit around and talk about it all the time. But it's still you want to do this, you're gonna need to make this time investment to be able to get to it. And I think it would be great if there was at least an option to practice it earlier, and maybe the solution is private matches, which Yoshi P has already talked about that they're working on, the ability to be able to make our own and stuff like that, which I think will add a lot more life to it, because whether you want to match against randoms or you want to play against your friends, that will be I think a huge boost.
Definitely. That's a cool thing to note. Feast is supposed to be in free trial soon.
That will be huge.
Nice.
Yeah, because I think there's a crowd of people who really like PvP. And it's like, all right.
And maybe the next bit of PvP content will actually let you use all that PvP gear without level syncing down the morale stat and stuff.
Be neat.
Morale.
One thing at a time.
At some point, I think we'll probably just see that stat just kind of make its way out.
They just need to get rid of it. There's no point.
Yeah, well, they changed it to where it just basically is like increasing the eye level of the gear as opposed to having any other additional type of effect.
But there's no PvP content where it's not synced, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
I'm
it's
with
just
you.
Unless you're like in the Wolves Den Pier, like on the striking dummy or something, like it's just they need to get rid of it. It's not being used. All right, moving on. We're going to get into our last discussion topic here. Final Fantasy XIV. Man, Brian is just like both of these discussion topics.
This has been like
Final Fantasy
the best 2 weeks ever.
Final Fantasy XIV on the Xbox One a couple weeks ago at GDC. Microsoft mentioned how they are going to be opening up cross-network play between Xbox and other networks such as PC, possibly PlayStation.
Yeah, and they said they're starting with like Rocket League specifically, and that's that's obviously going to be something they enable by developer. The real kicker to this is that they don't specifically say that Final Fantasy is coming to Xbox One. They don't acknowledge the fact that there've obviously been issues, and the reason why the game isn't there is because of all things that we don't know, and we can only start to speculate based off of what specifically, like Yoshi P said. But like the kicker to this, the thing that gets me excited is that in September of 2015, Phil Spencer went on an interview with like IGN, like on their the Unlocked podcast, and basically said that it's an exclusivity deal and that can't really discuss it.
I want to go on record as saying Phil Spencer had no idea what he was asked and what he was saying when he gave that quote, because it makes no sense when you go back and read it. It makes no sense
in context to what we've already known as fans, but for the general populace who might not, whatever, it felt like a real big punch to the gut. It was just like, he's completely skirted. It was just like, I don't like exclusivity deals, and let's talk about our fall lineup. That's fine. I don't fault Phil Spencer for that. He's in charge of Xbox.
Why not?
He's got his marketing. Well, because it's the fact is
so
that
nice.
Ask him the tough questions.
I don't have to be mean. It's just that the fact is that he's like where Yoshi P can speak more candidly, and Yoshi P already kind of.
It's like asking Yoshi P about why I can't buy a shirt in America is asking Phil Spencer why isn't this game on Xbox. Well, he's not in charge of every nook and cranny of it.
He's
got his hands in everything, but not like that deep in everything, right?
when I say I understand why Phil Spencer gave the answer he did, it doesn't mean I like the answer. It doesn't mean that I think it was the right answer.
Doesn't mean we think that the answer makes any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And it really was demoralizing, because obviously, and anybody who's seen this show or follows me on Twitter knows, I've drawn stupid.
You're like the poster boy for 14
bring
on
the
Xbox.
game to Xbox. Now, I have, and I'm blessed in the sense that I've got a PC that can run the game. I've got a PS4. I also have an Xbox. I'm a fan of video games.
No.
Oh my gosh!
You
right?
shut up.
Oh, get out of town. But the reality is that there are people who don't have the ability to do or have what I have, and it's fine. It's like they might be somebody who can specifically play on PlayStation or can specifically play on Xbox. They got to make a choice, and it's and whatever brought them to that. And it's unfortunate, especially with the way that 14 is set up, that they don't have that. If they picked Xbox, they right now don't have that ability to be able to get into it. And to Yoshi P's credit and Square Enix's credit, I don't want them to bring Final Fantasy to the Xbox One if it gets segmented off, if it gets cut out and divided from the rest of the community. That's not the way to go. And so I've actually, the fact that while I want 14 on the Xbox One, I don't want 14 on the Xbox One the way that Phil Spencer or Xbox has dictated to Square Enix that they'll allow it if they do, their own servers that are completely cut off from the environment. I have no problem if they wanted to do their own server, as long as players have the option to join into the entire community or just the Xbox server, which, I don't want to debate like all of the varying problems there. But for the reality is that out of the GDC, out of this, that developers will have the option to not just do PC to PC, but when they talk about networks like PSN, this is huge. Does it mean that we can see 14 on Xbox One? Maybe not. Like
I think the way to look at it is, as far as like the policy goes, this is the policy that was causing this block. It was Yoshida didn't want there to be segregation between systems and servers, and so until he said several times. I mean, he told us at, I think it was PAX East last year. He said, I don't want only Xbox players on Xbox servers. That's not how this game should run. And he says, we'd love to have it on the system, but this policy needs to change or whatever. Now it has. Mm-hmm. So the door is open. It's just a matter of Square Enix working out, the finer details and
figuring out the finer details. And hopefully this means that those discussions that Yoshi P said that they're having go a lot better, and they get it figured out. Obviously, my daughter's just gone home. So hopefully this is the last barrier, and we'll hopefully learn more soon. And so I posted up an article just yesterday kind of about this, because there are some other concerns. People are like, will they require Xbox Live Gold? Will they not require it? All of that can be, I think, worked out, and there's everybody's gonna have an opinion about any of that. But I guess all in all, if this is truly the last barrier down that was really keeping 14 off the Xbox, I hope that Square Enix and Xbox can and Microsoft get this resolved, because I personally, and the kind of the whole point of the article, after kind of like the history and the concerns and stuff, was more that now is the perfect time. And I think Andrew, you and I were kind of talking about.
I do have a counterpoint.
Another opinion. I'll let you do your counterpoint in a second. But I think that because we don't have a major expansion release, because of kind of like we've got the patches and stuff like that. But I think because the fact that there's not an expansion, it's a perfect time to release the game from a marketing perspective.
It's a marketing
because you get a whole new release, a whole new review, a whole new discussion of, hey, here's this game, and it hasn't been available to Xbox One, and Microsoft can do a press release, and Square can do a press release, and ideally for me that falls sometime this summer, like where they can talk about it at E3 and build up the excitement, because the next time that happens is with 4.0, where the next expansion comes out for the different platforms, and you get that marketing push. And so really more from a marketing perspective, it makes sense to say, here it is on the Xbox One, and have that whole excitement and push behind it in a year that we don't have an expansion. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so
my point though, I think is realistically, it's going to take more time for them to get the finer details worked out and to actually get a working version on there. Granted, And you did mention Xbox One runs Windows. The game is built on Windows, so it shouldn't be that hard.
Xbox One runs Windows 10. I am running Final Fantasy on my Windows 10 machine. While I think, there's going to be some things that, you have to do, I hopefully, because Yoshi P said they're ready to start as soon as they get the go-ahead from Microsoft. Hopefully it's just a matter of a published profile, and anybody who's worked with Unity and stuff like that knows it's like, there's some things that you go in and check, etc. But some development as it's evolved has gotten way easier to be able to be multi-device.
On that same page, though, and I mean, we even talked about this earlier, this is a development team that's telling leads to try and do their best because the last quests were too short, and we don't have time to really implement a small little crossover quest or whatever at this time. Their time is very much planned out already, and I think
but and for people who might not be aware of it, though, is that those are they're different type of engineers. So like the people who are doing the quest,
I mean, there's different departments within Final Fantasy XIV.
And this would be more of an engineering a platform engineering department. Now if they don't have the bandwidth there, then you're absolutely right. It's good. It's either a matter of then hire somebody to do it, like another company, or it waits, and that's kind of the thing. You either build, you buy, or you hire. But that would be specifically focused in that department. And one of the things I kind of talk about is that, they did give us a new platform for Mac, and there were some problems. And in that case, for the Mac, they actually hired another company to do that. And there was problems with it, and they just recently put it back on sale with 3.2. And some of the people that I've talked with who have it say it's way better. It's not great. Like, you're still going to get better performance off of Windows because with DirectX. But that's where, again, like I would tie back to, this is perfect. Xbox is DirectX. They got DirectX 12. We got DirectX 11 on PC on your graphics card, and 12 is even more memory efficient. Ideally, it shouldn't be outside of this policy. I'm hoping that's all it is. This was the one stick in the mud that Square wasn't going to budge on and Microsoft wasn't going to budge on. Sounds like they budged. Hopefully that they can get some handshake and everybody makes money.
Yeah, I mean this was the thing holding the door closed. So I mean, now it's gone. And I think it's funny you mentioned the Mac version. I always wondered when they announced that. I'm like, well, how many people are only playing on a Mac? Are there I can't imagine. And this is just me, because I mean I don't have a Mac. I've been PC for forever. But man, I can't imagine there's that many people that are playing this exclusively on a Mac. And if they are, I feel like they should know better, right? Like, I am a Mac user and I'm a gamer.
To play this game when it first came out, I had a Mac prior to that.
Yeah, I like Macs. I'm a Mac and PC guy. I'm a software engineer.
Macs are great for certain things. Gaming is not one of them.
No,
it will never be.
It's and it's really kind of the fact that, like, when you look at DirectX from a technical and a power level, it really gets and opens up the graphics card, allows developers and a lot of the thing is that not only that, but people spend a lot of time with it. So you kind of get like, I know how the architecture works. I'm comfortable.
Well,
with it,
you know what's really funny too from a development standpoint is you look at like major AAA games now, and you look at console and PC development, and then maybe Mac, but then on the mobile side it's iOS first, then Android, and then maybe Windows.
Yeah,
and that's the complete reverse of that.
Yeah, and that's where hopefully with Windows and their universal Windows application environment, UDP. We got the acronym wrong. That's where hopefully we'll start to see where they can develop once and have we're getting to this from a development perspective because of the costs that you want to be able to develop once and deploy to different environments. And so we'll hopefully start to see just that, and that also applies to gaming. And that's where one of the coolest things that they talked about at GDC, and this is, I think this outside of Final Fantasy is important to all gamers, is that gaming is not about a device anymore. It's about it's, you see phones and people it's
connectivity.
Your games, it's all about that connectivity, and it's that I can play this game.
That's
with
why
anybody.
Farmville was so cool, because it's like I can play this game with everybody on Facebook.
And that's where and that's where I think one of the beautiful things about Final Fantasy XIV is they've always been device independent. It runs on PS3, it runs on PS4, it runs on PC. Mm-hmm. Hell, there are even rumors that it's going to run on the NX or whatever that system ends up being. It's that we don't care about what device you choose to use. That's your preference. Like, your preference is to connect on a Mac? Okay, here you go. Your preference is PC? Awesome. Welcome to the family. I
want to use Linux.
Get out.
Can I?
Wow.
Man.
No, I mean, if they did a Linux client, it would run on the Steam box. So you can't like a Steam machine. I hope that with this is that with what we see with Sony and what we see with Microsoft is really what we're seeing what Steam's trying to accomplish is that just play your games and buy the hardware that you want to buy, and then you can play the games you want to play. And we'll always have these platform exclusivities, but like all these multi-console games, Division, Destiny, all why does it matter? Like, why can't I play with somebody? I think that will increase the life of the game. I think it will increase and make it easier for developers to be able to say, hey, we've got 10 million people playing our game. Great. Instead of saying, we've got 10 million people, but you can only play with 3 and you've got all the rest of the 7. And then also you got that one holdout, that one friend that's a holdout. Like, what platform will we get in this game?
And that's me right now with the Division. I know a few friends from work that have it on Xbox. I know a few other friends that I've known for a long time have it on PlayStation. And it's like, I just, by the time I figure out what I would want to buy, they're all going to be so far ahead of me that I'm not going to care anymore and I won't buy it. So
see, that's the great thing about Division, though. You start another character, play with your other friend, and it's still fun. Yeah. It's a really fun game.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that everybody's enjoying the Division. That's exciting. I'm going to wait to see what everybody's reaction to it is a couple months down the line.
Right.
To see
it's still the new kid on the block. It's like, wow, check out the Division. Well,
it's
so cool.
Let's wait to see what everybody does after the honeymoon phase.
I really hate replaying stuff, and I've played through twice now to level up with friends who picked it up after I did, and I had no problem. It was still fun doing the same thing over again.
That's good. That's really exciting to hear.
If anybody needs me, I'll be doing Beastman dailies for like the 20 millionth time trying to get relic upgrade items. If anybody needs me,
those items.
I'm crying myself.
I think though, hopefully, again, like, I'm happy that Final Fantasy wants to make sure that as a community we're not divided by our device, and hopefully that we get to basically open up our community to a new device. I know people, who you have the fanboy war, stuff, which is completely pointless, but it's fun to watch. But at the end of the day, like, I know another argument against is people are worried that the Xbox is going to bring in console limitations. And
I just want to say before you get into your point on that, anybody who's saying that is an idiot.
You're so much nicer than me.
This has been a big deal right when A Realm Reborn was coming out, because they're like, it's going to be on the PlayStation 3. And a lot of people that were into Final Fantasy MMOs, PS2 limitations is a common phrase for a lot of them.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I asked Yoshida right before A Realm Reborn came out. And he's like, there's not going to be any issues with that because it's built on the PC. If the consoles don't meet whatever we want to do going forward with the game, we can easily drop support. Not a big deal. The game isn't bound by these systems. And everyone's like, oh, if you make it on Xbox, that's going to hold the game back. No, it's not. If they want to do something and the consoles are holding them back, they'll drop the consoles and move forward with those systems on the PC.
Right. And in fact, what we'd probably actually see before anything else is when so PS4 is obviously like the most powerful console that you can get on the market, and from a memory architecture perspective, it's just easier to build for. Xbox is still pretty close. You go look at numbers; it's got some, it wins here, or like on some things, and it's like, so regardless, PS4 and Xbox are pretty powerful systems, for the money. Then what you'll actually see being a limit, let's say we get past PS3, because that is going to cause issues.
No, that'll be the first system to drop, and they will drop it. A lot of people have been saying 4.0. That hasn't been confirmed.
If they hold on to PS3 for 10 years, I think everybody will all agree with you. But the problem is that once you kind of have PS3, it's actually going to be lower end PCs that will be the limiting factor before it's the Xbox One and the PS4.
And they've already run into those issues too. I mean, they talked about when developing Heavensward, flying around in certain areas, just because of between the loading speed and how fast the mounts go and stuff, you might fly by like a Quest NPC, but he doesn't load right away or something. And they did worked on optimizing it and stuff like that. But we are already, I mean, the Heavensward areas are bigger areas, and so it's starting to push the PS3 a little bit. There's no confirmation
I think Heavensward pushes the PS3 to its limits.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen some people play on it. You're right. It's that quest loading comes in, and it's really the idea that if they were going to expand on it, like make the zones bigger and things like that, it's hopefully what they do, in my opinion, in this case, is that with 4.0, with whatever that ends up being called, is that PS3 isn't outright dropped. It just doesn't get 4.0. So you can still continue to play and experience the zones in that world, and then once you hit 4.0, it's like, hey, come check out this, etc. But it's going to be on a new platform. But at the same time, if doing that still, if keeping PS3 around limits what they want to do with 4.0, then that might be hit the tough call. And the only thing that we would be able to tell at that point is that I think they said they're going to look at the player base and see if 90% of everybody's on PS3. Well,
I mean, right now, like if 4.0 is just more areas and dungeons and stuff, the PS3 can handle that fine.
Yep.
If 5.0 handles, they add some crazy new kind of gameplay system into it where it's just it makes the PS3 chug along, and it's something that they really want to add, they can drop PS3 support fine, and the game will be fine. And there's all these people. I mean, we asked on social media, and people are like, no, like we don't want more consoles, and it's just like, you don't want more people playing the game with you is what you're saying when you say that, because it's not going to hold the game back. It may, the devs may tweak certain things. Maybe they have an idea to do this, and it's like, well, it'll run a little better on the consoles if we do this, but they'll still include that content, and you won't know that they cut it anyway, so what does that matter, right? If they're adding new big content...
The other prevalent argument in that same kind of vein is that by adding in another platform means we're going to get less content. And that completely is false, namely because what drives the content we get is the operation budget that they have. And adding more players adds more to the operation budget, which adds in turn more content. And the fact is like, again, the platform isn't the game. The guys who are in charge of the deploying the platforms and all that aren't the guys who are making the dungeons and the art and all of that. And the best way you can get more game designers and artists and everybody who's working and building the content within the engine is to have more platforms bringing in, bringing more money.
More platforms means more players, means more money, means more content. It's not rocket science, It's only going to help the community, and it's even out of the game.
Science.
Even out of the game, if you get more players going, you're going to have a bigger community. You'll have more people posted on the forums or Reddit or whatever, and it's just like. It's
more word of mouth.
Yeah,
more people coming up on YouTube making
so
let's plays and videos and continuing the conversation. The nice thing is our community continues to grow. So you mentioned earlier 5 million. It's like, that was what they said like last April. I don't know when the next time they're going to give us an update.
I mean, it is registered accounts, right? And you always got to point that out. It's not active users; it's registered accounts, right?
Well,
because they want to make sure that they use the bigger number. But that's still a lot of people.
People get hung up on subscribers because a registered user is either somebody who's been, who's bought the game, who's
they have played the game.
Money.
People that have played the game,
right? And they've actually invested money in it because it's not. They don't count the free trials. In that number. So it's people who have put money down. And one of two things is that person will either come back with the right incentives or they might not. So it's, while you want the subscriber is important for your operational budget, that registration number is huge. And a lot of people write that off. Whereas that, with 3.2, we see a huge uptick in people who were taking a break because people do. Subscribers are people who are, either active or inactive, and they can, the majority of them bounce back and forth. You do have a population that comes in and plays and then leaves, and that's probably not going to come back for whatever various reasons. But when you have somebody who, is that subscriber, they're going to either be active or inactive, and reporting on that number at any point in time, I think it only it doesn't really going to help you or hurt you in terms of today we had 1.2 and then tomorrow we had 1.5, and it just varies, especially by content to content. But I think that registration number is really huge and important because again, it's like let's say you're on a break and then now you've got that free trial, right? We got the free 4 days. Well, hey, I haven't checked it out in a while. A couple of my friends are taking a break. They're coming back now. They're coming back because of that free 4 days. They're like, oh, this is great. And so it continues that conversation, and it makes somebody, again, jump back in to the fold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, getting the system on Xbox isn't going to hurt anything. It's just going to get more players involved and more content in the end. And
the only
people that are making a fuss about it are just
the only thing that's important for me is that if for some reason adding it to the Xbox added more development time to release a patch, let's say for some reason they had to spend an extra 2 or 3 weeks, then that would be an argument that I could say like they need to figure that out. They need to hire the right people and get that in place so that we don't have this giant delay across the board.
But then again, going back to that, if that is the case, and we're not saying that it is,
we don't know.
They release it on another console, they will get more players.
Yeah,
they will have more money. They'll be able to hire an extra guy that can, QA Xbox One only or something. Like it's not an issue.
Anyway,
you guys are so passionate today.
Well, thank you. I'm really hoping. Obviously, I don't expect that we're going to get it, next month or by June or something. But
you would love it if we did.
Oh, I would be ecstatic. This would be like,
It's not tomorrow, Brian. I just got the email.
Oh man, don't.
I think
Jesus is risen and Xbox One gets Final Fantasy.
I think 4.0 is a good time. I do understand your bit about having for marketing it would be a good time to do it. For the players,
4.0 makes more sense because for the same cost, because they would have that catch-up edition, they would get the ARR, Heaven's Word, and then 4.0 once. Because if they do release it this year, let's say the summer, or heck even the fall, then when the 4.0 comes out, then it's like, hey, and here's this expansion. I don't know if financially that is better for the players or not, but
I think it makes more sense because I think a lot of people have been expecting 4.0 to land in like spring next year, which gives them plenty of time to tweak the Windows version onto a Windows based console. But it's a good time, especially if 4.0 is not going to be story gated. We don't know what the level gate is going to be on it.
Right.
I would assume probably 50 or 60, but it feels like a good time. I mean, looking back at 11, Otter Gone launch was on Xbox.
It's huge 360. For Final Fantasy
That's
11.
when that came out. Yeah, right with that expansion, and so that was their kind of like 4.0. So,
that brought in a ton of players, both new and returning. Like I was on a break from 11, and with that on Xbox 360. I was like, I'll jump back in. This is awesome.
I mean, back in the day, I mean, the game was running on PS2, and for people to be able to get the game on their Xbox 360, if they maybe didn't have a PC yet or they had an older PC, like that was huge. Xbox 360 was
I think that also
hugely popular in North America.
I think that also extended the life of Final Fantasy XI 3 or 4 years. Just having that influx of players.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like. Registration numbers are really important. When you're running around the game and you see all those little leaves, that's huge. That's really important for the success and the life of an MMO. Having new blood come in and being able to do that. If you don't see those leaves, that would be a sign that something's wrong. But the fact is that we have there's always new people checking out the game, and I would be very interested. I know we'll never get it, but what's the conversion rate from a trial to somebody who goes and buys the game? That would be something that would be a big tell.
Looking at this past patch too, and I know we mentioned this in the write up. I mean, we just got the mentor system, we just got the Hall of the Novice, all these tools to aid new players. And so now that we have those, adding in, another console, it's a great time to do it. It's not going to happen right away, but
even if it doesn't,
now that those tools are in place,
these tools are in place to help. Yeah. And I even said it right at the beginning of this year, and you can go back to an early podcast. I was like, I don't believe that this means we're going to get an Xbox One, but it's for me, even before the GDC things, I was like, it signifies that they're doing these things to like in anticipation for a large influx of people.
It's because they know they're getting new people. It's not even anticipation. It's
right.
We are getting new people.
That was your counter argument at the time. It was like, well, we're always getting in new people. It makes sense to have these tools. And I go, I agree with you. But I'm hopeful.
I remember that.
And at the time, I would have called.
It wasn't that long.
Yeah,
it wasn't that long ago, guys. Like
I remember the like huge hopeful smile on your face.
Well, it's like, and it's not.
It's like one of these days he like goes to bed and he like hugs his Xbox. He's like, "Soon, buddy."
I'll pick up the game absolutely if it comes out on Xbox. But there's a lot of my friends that, just have the Xbox, and I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, we would play with you, but my PC's 5 years old, and it's just I use it for email." And I go, "I understand." And I don't feel like buying a PS4 because
I'd play with you, but I have a Mac.
I have 3 kids that I'm trying to feed. And I'm like, I totally hear you, buddy. I don't want you to go out and do anything that you can't do. So it'd be great for that option. My hope is, and in fact, I was talking with the guys over at Discord this week about it. Is I was like, okay, Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox One, Discord app for Xbox One and PS4.
Oh,
then I can just have my controller, hook in my headset, talk on Discord, and it's all handled and managed for me rather than having multiple things going. And the Discord people were like, well, that's part of our vision. I'm like, yes, let me know. And then I was like, let me know if I can help. And they were like, all right, but we're not looking for volunteers. I'm like, I would totally write that app for you guys. I love XAML. Anyway,
there you go. I think that's it. Did anybody else? Michelle, you were pretty quiet that whole time.
You guys.
She's in the anti-Xbox camp. She's like, no.
No, I'm not against Xbox. I've left consoles behind for the longest time. So.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of what like they were talking about at GDC is that we're seeing that for the cost. They used to be consoles for the cost was way more attractive because you didn't have to go spend tons of money on a PC to be able to play games. But now hardware is improving at such a fast rate that when you lock yourself into a console for like 7 years, you get quickly out of date. It's like because of the fact that it's like, oh, on a PC for $1,000, you can have you can be running these games and have all this great technology. So they did talk about like an upgrade program, and there's even rumors now of PS 4.5 that's going to be like 4K stuff, and it's like
I read that, and it's like, yeah, it'll have like 4K support. And I'm like, that's cool. We're still getting games that don't even run at 1080, like, and you're worried about 4K support. Come on.
Well, they're not, and then I don't think we're going to see 4K video game development being required for a while because it's just going to be a huge amount of art assets to be managed.
No console's going to be able to support that.
But they're talking about like more for 4K TV and streaming and stuff like that. But it's they're going to be doing this. It sounds like we're going to be getting in this hardware integration, and whether they can successfully turn it into an upgrade. I know a lot of people call back to Sega's 32 and the CD.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, we could be in a situation like that and it not take off. But it depends. I think we'll probably see some information. Now that obviously you're like, why am I listening to video game news outside of Final Fantasy on the Final Fantasy podcast? But the reality is we'll probably hear some more information about it at E3, and I think we're going to see more of a continued conversation because essentially the consoles, whether they want to admit it or not, are still they're competing with this, and this is on a yearly hardware upgrade cycle that people go and do, and the question is how can console manufacturers not get left in the dust on the 6-year plan? And I think it ties into
it's hard.
You look at the PC. My games that I bought 10 years ago still run on my PC, as opposed to we just got backwards compatibility for the 360
for some games, not all the games.
For some games, if they can get out of this hardware, the game being attached to the hardware, well, I think we'll see resurgence in the console market in that sense. I mean, not that it's struggling, but anyway,
I think something too that's interesting is going back maybe like 3 or 4 years when like the cloud technology started to really get looked at. Everyone's like, oh yeah, consoles are going to go away, and now it's looking like they just want to. It's like they want to unify all the networks, and then they want to like let you upgrade the consoles. But the problem with that is, if I have $500, I can either upgrade my PC. Or I could like upgrade or get like a side grade for a console, I'm not going to side grade my console. That's just stupid.
Yeah, and the other thing is like the thing that makes, and if we look at kind of the Steam machine, the thing that makes the Steam machine, that Xbox and all that, like PlayStation, is that it's easy to kind of get set up. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't have to worry about drivers. And the thing is that the PC world has actually gotten much, much better at at those issues. And I'm gonna butcher this. Lola Lou 72 in the chat's talking about the issue though is that if you kind of buy your PC with not kind of as a pre-built, not for gaming, those machines aren't going to last as long as that if you go and specifically like try to get something kind of for that. And you're absolutely right. The real answer and the real kind of like rule of thumb for this entire conversation is you get what you pay for. But what I'm advocating for in this case is that just because you can't afford the top of the line, hopefully doesn't limit you to being able to participate in that. And that's where the brilliance of how they designed, like you said with the OGP, how they designed 14 to be able to run on the top stuff, and they keep introducing and improving on it. But they made it so scalable that it can run on PS3. That it can run on this, and and so then you're sacrificing visual fidelity, and it's really only to the point where if it starts affecting features and content they want to introduce, then that's when it's
going to be like deep systems that are integrated into the core of the game. Like I know my fiance had a PS3 for a little bit after Heavensward, and she did Void Ark on it, and she's like, it looks terrible. Like just with the textures and stuff, because it's not even running 720 on the PS3. Right. It's like an upscaled. I forget what the exact resolution it runs on, but she's like, Void Ark just looks terrible. And
sounds terrible.
And it's it's one of those things too where okay, so maybe they do have a PS 4.5, and maybe it can maybe has a little more memory or something like that. The problem is going to be and kind of going off topic while staying on topic, they just released Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS. And if they have the 3DS, and then they have the upgraded version. They have the new 3DS,
right?
Which runs the game good. You can do 3D mode on it. If you have the normal 3DS, you can't enable 3D, and the frame rate is so bad it's almost unplayable. That's what happens when you start doing side grades of systems. Is you're gonna get these games where it's like, it kind of runs on PS4 if you like really crappy laggy games, but it runs okay on the PS 4.5, and that's something we need to get as far away from as possible, I think.
Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right. Like I think that will be very unfortunate, and you would see where it wouldn't be necessarily Square's fault, but that would be where I think a lot of people would get very soured to it.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's like, can somebody just sell me a PC that is awesome and that I can just put under my TV and everything hooks up? Oh, that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah. Yuki Yashiro in the chat here is saying PS3 has made them fall out of Endgame due to limitations in loading.
Yep.
You could totally slap an SSD in your PS3. As stupid as that sounds. Well, that also being said, it is really easy to swap out the hard drive on a PS3. I mean, my fiance, she actually put a solid state drive in her PS3, which sounds so weird to me, like on the older hardware. But it, we'd be playing together. I'd be on my laptop on the couch. She'd be on her PS3. Her PS3 was loading faster than my laptop, which is a pretty decent gaming laptop. And so, I mean, that's always an option. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as people can still play the game comfortably, maybe it'll load a little slower or something, but as long as the game runs comfortably, it'll continue to be supported. And until we get a system that Square Enix wants to implement, not something that's like, we're thinking about this, but we have a little leeway. It's something that's like, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're not going to change anything on it. PS2 or PS3, I'm so used to saying PS2 limitations. PS3 memory just won't support what we absolutely 100% want to do. Then they'll drop the console, and it won't be a big deal. It won't hold the game back. They'll do what they want to do regardless. And so it's not an issue.
Yeah, and in case, especially talking to Yuki here, just for a second, it's that like while that SSD is an option, I mean, unless you get a really good deal on it, I would always recommend in this case that you just set that money aside and invest in a PS4,
or something. Yeah.
And because I hope, and what I would like to see if they do decide to move from PS3 with 4.0, I hope they bring back the upgrade program where it's like, hey, you're on PS3, why don't you just upgrade to the PS4?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, we'll do that. I mean, right now with Final Fantasy XI, March 31st, they're dropping console support. After like 12 years, and
12 years, man, that's
a lot of PS2 time, and so they're making it. There's like here's the download link for the PC version. Here's how to if you need to like migrate account information or whatever. Here's how to do it, and I have no doubt that if they need to do that for either new consoles or dropping PS3 or something, I think they'll do that. But yeah.
Well, I think that horse has been effectively beat.
I feel like we did 2 podcasts today.
Right? Yeah, this is a long episode.
Just chop it off at a certain point and be like...
Part 1 and Part 2.
This is about partying.
I'm going to release the whole thing as one episode. It'll be great. I'll have to look and see what our longest one is. This probably isn't it. I think our longest episode is probably like one of the first where all we did was like quote Famitsu magazines about these are leave quests and we have like Allison and Rogadin and God, those are the days. Eating up any little bits of info we could get, man.
Oh yeah.
And now we're here talking about new consoles and PvP and add-ons that we still don't have and Sky Bears.
Sky Bears.
Someone's excited.
I'm excited, but I want a polar bear mount. Because even if I had Warrior and I had the bear mount, it's still not Sky Bear. It's just brown bear that can now fly, right? It needs to be the polar bear, so it can be Sky Bear.
Yeah.
Picky.
And part of me also wants it because I know that the description would be fantastic.
That's true. That is true.
I'll have to talk to Coach and be like, hey, so like, can you make up some little like lore about like a flying bear? Or how he like scaled the cliffs or something in Corthus, and yeah, they would totally play into that. That'd be great. So that'll do it here for this episode of Aetheryte Radio. Thanks to everybody that tuned in the Twitch chat here and joined our discussion. If you want to email us, you can do so at we'd like emails. We haven't gotten emails in. I couldn't even tell you what the last time was that we got some emails. aetheryteradio@gamerescape.com. That might have been the last time we got some. aetheryteradio@gamerescape.com, or you can tweet at us at aetheryteradio. We are also available there at Gamerscape on Twitter as well. We're on iTunes. If you would like to download the audio podcast for this, you can go on iTunes. If you do, leave us some reviews, let people know what you think of the show, or tweet about the show, or tell your friends, tell your FC, whatever you want to do. Spread the word.
Party Finder
there it is.
Yeah. Make sure to check out our interview with Susan Calloway on our last episode, and other than that,
check
we'll
out
be
her
back.
song too if you haven't downloaded it yet.
The artist cut of Answers. Definitely check that out. And we'll be back here in a few weeks. I'm thinking we'll probably get one more episode in right before PAX East, and then maybe we'll do one right after, depending on if there's anything that comes out of there. They did mention PAX East during the live letter today. No info about what's actually going to be there.
Well, yeah, they got PAX East, and then pretty much the next week they have the first live letter with 3.3 Part 1 content.
Yeah, so it's right after. That was poorly timed.
It's a week. It's like, so it's like he'll be here, and then the next week they have it. So, I guess we'll figure out if there's any real significant things that we want to discuss, or if
E3 will be here before we know it. So, lots of big events coming our way. So I'm sure we'll get some information at those. So thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Bryn and Zanija for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
You start